Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. It is the kickoff of the CEBL Championship Series. I got to put my Sea Bears hat on right now. We got game one of the best of three tonight, and it is on everywhere. It's on TSN. It's on CBC. You will be able to watch this game if you were in front of a television set. 6 o'clock tonight from Brampton, Winnipeg and Brampton in game number one. And then coming back to the Peg on Saturday. Should be a great crowd. 2:30 p.m. for game two of Sea Bears Honey Badgers. And if this series goes to a third deciding game, that will be Sunday afternoon as well at Canada Life Center. Of course, tickets are on sale right now. Rod Black's going to join us to set up the series in tonight's matchup, get his thoughts on both teams and their paths to the championship series. Of course, if you go to seabears.ca, you can lock in tickets for you and all your friends to get there, for which should be a great atmosphere. And we do have a contest running as well at Winnipeg Sports Talk with the Sea Bears for some tickets. So if you haven't already, go to winnipegsportstalk.com/contest and get your entries in. We will be announcing winners tomorrow on the program to get you set up for Saturday afternoon. Hey, speaking of tomorrow, looking forward to hooking up with their pals at Travel Manitoba. We're going to be doing the show down at the Visitor Information Center at the Forks. So if you are in and around downtown tomorrow, maybe pop by the Forks for lunch, pop by and say hi to the gang, and make sure to join us tomorrow for what should be a big show heading into game day for the Bombers on Friday night with a full recap and reaction of tonight's game one in the CEBL Championship Series. As I mentioned, Rod Black will set up tonight's game number one. We'll also take a trip around the Canadian Football League with Marhsall Ferguson. Always love having Marshall on the program. Brandon Rewucki's going to jump on as well for a midweek visit. And I've been hoping to get our friend Thomas Tipple back because it's fantasy football season. Everybody's getting ready for their drafts. Training camps are underway. What's happening? Who are the risers? Who's falling right now? Who do you need to have? Thomas Tipple from fantasypoints.com is going to join us and return to the program. And we'll also get ready for tonight's big Coolbet Open Canadian final with Pat Gregoire from Coolbet. Good luck to everybody that won their way into tonight's final through our 4-tournament summer series. A number of WST regulars are going to be playing for that trip to the Coolbet Open in Estonia. We'll fly you out there. They'll put you up in a hotel. You will have your buy-in for the main event taken care of as well as some other really cool events. So good luck to everyone. If you missed the qualifying tournaments and weren't able to win your way in, you can still get in. It's, such a massive prize. The buy-in's €100, so about 160 Canadian. And again, if you are trying to find that, go to coolbet.com, then get into poker, click on tournaments. And normally you just put in WST and it'll take you to our tournament because this is more than just what we've been doing. If you just put in Canad, you'll see Canadian Coolbet Open Canadian Final. That is tonight. That's at 8 o'clock Central Time. Good luck to everyone. We will see you on the felt. Should be a fun show today, though. Let's get right to it. Do want to thank our sponsors, including, of course, Pat, Jake, and the great people over at Coolbet, along with Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, Boston Pizza, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake, Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, the Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs, both in action tonight. Big win for the Fish last night, and big news for the Gold Eyes, which we'll get to in just a minute, with a star player returning to the squad. Of course, the newly reopened Santa Lucia at 1473 Main Street. Shout out to Roberto and the gang down there, as well as Rolly's Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, and we will get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Welcome all you podcast listeners and shout out to everybody in chat on this fine Wednesday afternoon. Michael Remis, what's going on?
Yo, I'm getting fired up here. Sea Bears in the CEBL final. Gold Eyes homestand back in the win column last night. And, we're a couple days away. We're one day away from CFL Week 11 kicking off with what should be a great game, BC and Calgary. BC really trying to get back in it. But the Bombers, I'm fired up for the game Friday against Ottawa.
Yeah, listen, Bombers got to have it. We'll get Marshall's thoughts on where the Bombers are at right now, heading into this game and beyond. I will say, it doesn't matter really who you talk to right now in the Canadian Football League. It sounds like there's a lot of people that are really out on Winnipeg. And maybe, just maybe, Remo, as difficult as the last few weeks have been and a couple really embarrassing home losses, maybe this bye week and a game against Ottawa is exactly what this team needs to try to fire it up. Listen, they may not be able to hang with Montreal or Saskatchewan, but they're far better than they've shown so far this year. And listen, that time away and the return of Zach Collaros hopefully is just what the doctor orders, because this Winnipeg football team absolutely needs to win. We joke about must wins and can't loses. If the Bombers want to be in the conversation for the CFL playoffs, to me, it is imperative that they get back in the win column, get to 5-4, and then get ready for 4 of the most difficult games of the season.
Yeah, they really need to win this game. You can't be the team that loses to Ottawa, who doesn't have a win this year after getting thumped for, how many rushing yards? Again, this is like a game they play, but how many?
77. Against
BC and their rookie quarterback making his first ever start. So, look, the last 2 games, pretty bad. Mike O'Shea said they were tired. Let's see if the bye week can help them. I'm sure it'll help the offense, having Zach Collaros back and quarterback. But this defense, you gave up 52 to Calgary. They gave up a bunch to Ottawa before, in the week before. I don't think they looked particularly great for the first half of that one. And Tommy Condell said yesterday the offense has been consistently inconsistent. You hope if they can keep getting inside the 10, they convert some of these opportunities into touchdowns. Credit to them for getting there, but kicking short field goals is not going to help you win football games. No. So there's so much they need to clean up on defense, on offense. They've had some time off. We'll see how they look on Friday. I'm not totally out on the Bombers. I think there was parts you can like about their game, but they just made so many mistakes. You think about that Edmonton game, or earlier putting the ball on the ground, or the games where the defense looks awful in the first half and then tightens up in the second half. Too many reoccurring themes. So I think there's some hints of a good football team here, but they can't put it together for a full game.
Well, they're going to have to. And listen, maybe it's a perfect time to get Ottawa in, although Ottawa is going to be real hungry. And as we'll talk with Marshall a little bit later on. The guys there, they're 0-8 right now. They got to find a way to win a damn football game. And I'm sure they look at what's happened in Winnipeg in the last month, and look back to their game against the Bombers earlier this year, feel that they should be able to win this game. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. But if the Bombers want to salvage this season, they got to come out. They got to be much better. And you sort of mentioned it, Remo, like how the defense was maybe better in the second half. I think the onus is on every player, but particularly the coaching staff, to have this team ready to go right out of the gate with a killer instinct mindset. It's happened a number of times this year at Princess Auto Stadium where the team has, gotten the ball right off the bat, got 2 and out, or gone with a turnover. The other team's gotten the ball and gone right down and scored a touchdown. And, it's 2-3 minutes into the game and you're down a touchdown. They need to flip that script. And I think, try and make a statement to each other, to their fans, that this is, there are some mirages out there. Some will say the 4-4 record is a mirage. I think they need to say that their play as of late at home has been a bit of a mirage, and they're going to be a much better team heading into the second half of the season. Because for all the doom and gloom, there's a hell of a lot of football left to be played. And if the Bombers can be a much better version of themselves and get some results against much tougher competition, they'll be right back in the mix of everything in the West. But if they can't get a win on Friday and don't find a way to win over this next month, many of the pundits out there that have the Bombers as the 5th best team of 5 in the West could be right. So I'm really looking forward to it. We'll talk with Marhsall Ferguson coming up a little bit later on, as well as Brandon Rewucki on the program. Remo, I watched the Jays last night. Another big win for the club. They, it's funny. I'm looking at this game last night, and I'm watching the Dylan Cease deal. He gave up a few runs. He only lasted for five innings. But they grinded out a couple in the bottom of the 5th to have it 3-3 when he left the game, and then managed to get the win with a run in 6 and a run in 8. And it was just bizarre watching this game in that you got Charles McAdoo out there, Brent Bateman, who I wasn't familiar with. And then the bottom of the lineup, it's Ernie, it's Jimenez, it's Miles Straw, Nathan Lukes that are getting the job done. Basically everybody contributing, with one rather large exception of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who seems to be the final out of an inning every time he gets up. And the one time he got a hit last night, he ended up getting thrown out at second, trying to stretch it out for a double on the final play. You really wonder what this team could be capable of if we even had an average Vlad Guerrero for the remainder of the season.
Still hasn't homered at home, which is crazy. And you think, I agree, you think, what could this team be if you had a guy hitting like that he's capable of, in the middle of the order there? It's unbelievable to watch. But the Blue Jays, do we have a wild card chase cooking up here? They're on a 2-game win streak. They're 2.5 games back. However, there's so many teams ahead of them: Baltimore, Cleveland, Minnesota, and Detroit. So you really have to play quite above the level that you've played at all year. But we've seen it before from the Jays. Maybe they can, but you do wonder, is Vlad Guerrero Jr., is there some injury that's going to be announced, the day after the season ends? Do they need to give him a break? He did have 2 days off last week, and, I think he came back, he did homer, but that was on the road. They need him homering at all fields. You do play home and away games. So, but you look at the stretch they're on. You took 2 out of 3 from the Phillies. You took 2 out of 3 from the Astros. You took 2 out of 2 so far from the Red Sox, who've been red hot, and the Cardinals. You won that series, the Nationals. So all you gotta do is keep stringing together the series where you're taking 2 out of 3 games, and you're putting yourself in pretty good position. So I liked the moves that they made at the deadline. They traded away Gosman, but they didn't wave the white flag at all. They got Soriano, which was I thought was a nice trade, and he's under control for next year. And
he's starting tonight, too.
And he's starting tonight, too. So you're going to need a big game from him if they want to keep this thing going. And I think people aren't, closing the book on the Jays yet this year, Huss.
No, they aren't. I'm just going to text Pat. Pat's going to join us a little later on, but we'll put together a little 2-gamer ride with us. Very simple for tonight. Jays win, Sea Bears win. We'll get that together, and as I say, we'll talk with Rod Black coming up in just a couple minutes about the finals of the CEBL. Speaking of hoops, Reem, have you watched much of the WNBA this year?
I've seen the highlights that show up on social media. I know the Fever had a game. Have I sat down and watched a full game? No, but I'm pretty aware of the conversations happening. Like, I just follow from a distance. Like, I don't understand why they're not rallying around Caitlin Clark more, and like why she's getting attacked on the court and they're not doing anything. The coach isn't defending her and Sophie Cunningham, and then getting mad at everyone for getting mad at her. It's a wild scene. What's happening there?
Yeah, the WNBA for a long time had a really, I'll just call it a unique culture amongst pro sports.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was, I don't want to call it minor league, but it's big league now. And it's big time box office and everyone is watching it. It's not just a niche market of the sporting view. I bring this up because I went out to watch the Jays game last night. We had the Fever game on against the New York Liberty. Two really good teams. Caitlin Clark playing. She was unbelievable last night. But I saw they played the pregame address of the coach of the Indiana Fever, who's under a lot of heat for not sticking up for her own players, in Caitlin Clark, and in particularly Sophie Cunningham after she got clotheslined in the last game. And I mean, it was one of the most disastrous pressers I've ever seen in professional sports. I mean, she basically went to what seemed like complete BS, saying that she didn't see the play happen when there's a picture right there of her on the sideline staring right at it. She, of course, didn't really back her player after that and talked about the defender player and, oh, she's such a hard player. And people were outraged. Like, in any other team, in any other scenario, for a professional coach, right or wrong, not to defer to sticking up for their player is, I think, seen in most circles as outrageous. Well, it wasn't there. And she finished it off by saying, we're going to continue to choose love, choose kindness, and then said, and everybody else can go to hell, and then left. I mean, it was basically a Saturday Night Live skit. So I don't know whether they need a full overhaul of their PR teams. I think there's a real issue with the leadership of the league and the commissioner. But I got to tell you, all of the drama, all of the drama around this league has certainly put it on the radar of far more people. Like, if I go to my For You page on X, about half of it in the past week has been WNBA stuff. And then I watched that game last night. I was trying to watch the Jays, but I'll be honest, I spent probably more time with my eyes on that Fever Liberty game, and it was phenomenal. And like, I don't think it's good long-term for the league to have people talk about all these other issues around it. It would be great if it was about the athlete, the sport, and it was done normally. But I got to tell you, dude, I think come a couple weeks when this regular season ends, the WNBA playoffs are going to be followed in a whole nother way than they've been before. And it might be growing pains. It might be tough to get this point. But I got to tell you, I think we're in for a whole new level of following coverage of one of the top women's sports. And you can say it's because Caitlin Clark showed up and brought all her fans. Regardless, everyone's watching and everyone is talking about the WNBA right now.
Yeah, they say any publicity is good publicity, and the WNBA certainly got on my radar more the last couple of years, since Caitlin Clark was in college. I went on to the Fever, and you went to the Fever game in Vegas when they opened up T-Mobile for it a couple of years ago.
That was a real eye-opener for me. That was when we got stranded, or I got stranded for a couple extra days, thanks WestJet. By the way, WestJet, I know this happened again. They just, when they do that, they just cancel your flight. They screw you. I never got anything back for that damn flight. Like, I'm still pissed off about it. And that's why I don't really fly WestJet anymore. That's an aside. Yeah, I mean, apparently there was a Fever game, man. I met some girls at a blackjack table that were all in Caitlin Clark jerseys. I didn't know that this was happening. They said, oh, yeah, we're here for the game. It's a T-Mobile. They moved the game from where the Aces normally play to the Golden Knights rink because of the demand for tickets. So I grabbed one there. There was 20,000 people in the building. It was full. It was a great time. The game was awesome. But there's a lot of great personalities, great athletes. And I mean, Caitlin was chucking them up from about 5-6 feet behind the 3-point line last night. And it was fun. So anyways, I don't know about you. I'm interested in if people, whether it's because they're into basketball, women's basketball, Caitlin Clark, or just all the noise and drama around the league, have paid more attention to it this year. I certainly have. And I'll be honest, once all that noise gets eliminated and you watch the games, it's been pretty awesome. And I certainly will be looking at it a little bit more. But the hoops we're paying attention to tonight is the CEBL Championship. And it's going to be the Winnipeg Sea Bears on the road in Brampton against the Honey Badgers for game number 1. No Teddy Allen. Tillman and Acott dipped on the team, but no problem. Everyone else has stepped up under head coach Mike Rainbow, and the Sea Bears are 2 wins away from a CEBL championship. We're going to talk to Rod Black coming up in just a couple of minutes. After that, we'll have Marhsall Ferguson, Brandon Rewucki. We'll get into a little fantasy football talk with Thomas Tipple. Pat's going to jump on the show. But coming up in just a moment, we'll get ready for the CEBL. Game 1 tonight, 6 o'clock. You can check it on TSN. You can check it on CBC of your Sea Bears going for their first ever championship. Rod Black is next here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Rod, great to have you back in your hometown of Winnipeg on WST.
Sir.
How are you?
Hustler, good to see you, my man. It's all good.
Good to see you. I got to tell you, this city and people are really excited about this upcoming week. And I think part of it was there was high hopes for the Sea Bears, but, you know, with what happened with Teddy Allen and then, you know, 2 players just up and leaving before that first playoff game, I think there was a lot of people that thought that this season had just gone up in flames. And despite being undermanned, they went out, beat the Mamba at home, and then shocked everyone, I think, in the league with that road win in Vancouver. I guess this city should be excited about this basketball team and what they've done to get to this point.
Well, Winnipeg knows how to show up and show out. And I go back to last year. I was there doing the championship weekend, and, you know, Winnipeggers came out in droves. And I still think it's one of the best fan bases, if not the best fan base in the CEBL. And what David Asper has done there, and, you know, to play in, you know, really kind of an NBA-ready rink or building, it says a lot. Winnipeg has really fallen in love with these Sea Bears. And, you know, it's shown over the last couple of years, but it really has shown this year. And management, Mike Rainbow, has done a great job of going out and getting players and, you know, going out and bringing Teddy Allen back to Winnipeg. Remember how Teddy Allen left? You know, Teddy's got a bit of a reputation for leaving teams, but then he had an incredible season, an MVP caliber season. He's up for a finalist for MVP with Miles Powell and Scarborough. And, you know, then, of course, what happened, as we all know, I'm sure Winnipeggers know, and I know it well because I used to visit the Palomino a little bit. Didn't get in that kind of trouble. But then the 2 players, Emmanuel Acott and also Jeremiah Tillman, leaving. That stuff happens, Huss. You know, that stuff happens because it's a spring-summer league, and really it's a launching pad. And as much as we all care about this, the players are also caring about their future. And so I understand Emmanuel Acott, you know, getting a contract, and he has to commit to that. And same with Jeremiah. But you're missing 3 players. The good news for the Sea Bears is they have this guy named Xavier Moon, who just happens to be one of the most decorated players in the history of the CEBL. He is the CEBL, 3-time player of the year, NBA pedigree. Jamario Moon's nephew, as a matter of fact, of course, who used to play with the Toronto Raptors. And it also gives some of the local guys like Simon Hildebrandt. No coincidence that Simon Hildebrandt got to see a lot more basketball against Vancouver and came up with one of his most epic performances. It's going to be tough, though. Brampton's also not the same team that they played the last time. They went out and they lost players, too. They lost a player in a brawl on the floor, Roddy Peters, who now comes back in. They're very, very good. It's going to take a lot for the Sea Bears. But here, they're writing something here. And of course, as we know, maybe in the parking lot, the brothers will go at it because David Asper owns the Sea Bears and Leonard Asper owns the Brampton Honey Badgers. And I know they get along, but I'm sure they're not getting along this week.
No, yeah, a pretty juicy matchup, certainly when it comes to the owners. You mentioned Simon Hildebrand, and we had him on the program, was it Monday when the team got back? And, I asked him straight up, I'm like, Simon, when was the last time you played 36-19 in a game? And he goes,
U of M, probably.
I can't, yeah, literally for Kirby Shep. Like, he had the high of any player in the game at 36. And that's part of the Canadian rules. But when you can have a young guy step up like that, and you mentioned Mike Rainbow, and I'm interested in your thoughts on the amount of credit that he deserves. You lose a guy that had been a scoring machine in Teddy Allen. You're big. The way that the team kind of just everyone was in on trying to defend, I think, was something that was inspiring to a lot of the other guys. But you lose some players like that and you think that you're done. And yet this team led by Moon, who's just a brilliant distributor and kind of point guard general of the team, yet they've somehow pulled off the biggest win, the biggest upset, and now we're 2 wins away from a championship.
Yeah, and a month ago you wouldn't have called it an upset probably, and again, I think it all had to do with defense and disrupting Mitch Creek and the Bandits. And here's the big word, and the word is belief. And this team kind of has this belief. And if you go back to last year, remember they were the host team and they kind of plodded along. And I hated that host team stuff because you can play just for the championship. And it kind of showed. It kind of showed when they got to the championship weekend. They weren't game ready. I like that they've had to play a lot lately. I like the fact that they've had to learn to play without their teddy bear, Teddy Allen. And you're right about Xavier Moon. He's an incredible quarterback out there as a distributor. But for Simon to play, Mason Krause to get time, Carter Filowich, all the locals, and for Mike Rainbow, who is a local and, of course, coaches at the university level, I think he has to take great pride in this. I look at Tyrell Vernon with the Scarborough Shooting Stars, the games that I get a chance to do, and he coaches St. FX. And that's what I love about this league. They have some guys who have got NBA resumes, NBA pedigrees who are coaches, but I love the fact that the locals get to coach. And I love the fact that this Canadian Elite Basketball League, the most important word in that acronym, the CEBL, is Canadian. And we get to see the Canadian players play. Because let's face it, when you get to the championship, sometimes, the American players or the import players see a lot of basketball. I think this could be an incredible story. Again, if Simon can continue to do what he does. And, again, don't discount what Carter Filowich was doing on the floor as well, clogging up the middle. The thing about Brampton is they've got a couple of players. One guy who I believe, had he played the entire season, I think he would have been the MVP. And his name's Trenton Flowers, a guy who skipped college, tried to get right into the NBA, still could make it. He's an incredible baller. He's got the big afro. I used to have one of those a long time ago. Big afro hustler. And he's a good basketball player. And Sean East, who is an MVP candidate. And they got Cam Tyson, who can shoot threes. And Roddy Peters, who comes back. And you name Matthew Moncrief, again, Canadian. They are loaded. But I think, they had a few days here. And the thing for the Sea Bears, in my mind, would be play great D. Deny, clog the paint up, which you can do in FIBA rules, and just try to stay close to get a win in target time. I like the format. The fact that the Sea Bears had a better record, yes, they have to come to Brampton, but the next 2 games are in Winnipeg. I always found in a best of 3, by the way, I love the best of 3. When I find the best of 3s or any kind of series, what is the most important game for the road team? That first game, you get it, immediately take home court advantage. So I like the fact that you are rewarded. And the biggest part, I think, for the Sea Bears will be their 6th man. And I'm not talking about somebody coming off the bench. Will be all those fans, in the building in Winnipeg. And they are loud, they are proud, they are passionate. And no matter what happens tonight, it's still a series. But keep it close. Keep it close. If the Sea Bears can steal this one tonight, and I think it would be a steal if they do, I think they can win the championship. It's going to be very difficult if they lose this one tonight, but they're going to have to rely on their crowd.
Yeah, the Brampton team, we obviously focus more on the home team here, but kind of digging into their season, Sort of crazy. I mean, they started off 7-1, were running away with it.
Won their first 5 games.
Then went 1-7 and finished below 500, Rod.
They were indomitable, and I think what happened there, Sean East was out of the lineup. And again, for fans who've never seen them play, Sean East is an incredible baller. Again, NBA pedigree. This Matthew Moncrief was Canadian as well. He had an incredible season, but you're going to love Trenton Flowers, and he didn't play the whole season, it's kind of funny. They didn't have any chemistry in the late going. Hey, Huss, they just made the playoffs. If they do win the championship, they will become the first sub 500 team to win the CEBL title. Now, again, the CEBLs, the Honey Badgers won before as Hamilton, but the CEBLs had championship weekends, etc. They had the COVID season, but this would be the first team to be under 500. They are not anywhere near an under 500 team. They showed it in the playoffs so far against Ottawa. They showed it against Niagara. I thought they were absolutely outstanding against Niagara, the defending champions, and really humbled them. So, yeah, the Sea Bears have their work cut out for them for sure.
Well, what happened to Scarborough? I mean, they were 20-4 in the regular season.
You know what happened? They lost their composure, and they had a basket brawl. I think when we'd be sitting here today talking about Scarborough playing against Winnipeg, and nothing against Brampton, but Scarborough had a 20-4 season, best season of all. Then, of course, and for those of you who didn't see it, their last game of the regular season was against Brampton, their rivals. And if I was the Honey Badgers, I think I might have let this, written the script beforehand and say, hey, guys, why don't we start a brawl and try to get all their players suspended? I'm not saying that happened. But they had a brawl. It was OVO night. Drake was in the building. There was a vibe in the building. Celebrity Row was buzzing. And the Shooting Stars won again. But they, second half, they lost 4. They lost 4 players in the game. They had 3 players suspended, but they were the best 3 players. Miles Powell, who had a chance to play, was suspended in that game. He did play in the semifinal. But they lost Frank Mitchell, who's a 6th Man of the Year candidate, a Canadian of the Year candidate. They lost Terquavion Smith, who, again, former Philadelphia 76er, and they lost one of their best shooters in Jamin Johnson. They lost 3 of their stars. So they played severely handicapped and undermanned when they had to play against Niagara. And then they got Khalil Ahmad, the Lion King, who did it in Winnipeg last year to them, does it again. And I think he was in their kitchen. They just picked the worst possible time to get in a brawl. Guys were coming off the bench. The whole team could have actually been suspended. They came off the bench. Brampton lost Roddy Peters. They lost Tara Eze. But everybody's back now. Peters has served a 2-game suspension. Eze's back. Eze's a big man in the middle as well. So, that's what happened to Scarborough. Otherwise, it looked like they had the sails up. I don't think they would have been touched. They were that good. They had, 3 NBA caliber players. Frank Mitchell was playing great. And it goes to show you in sports that you can't write endings. Anything can happen in an eyelash. Teddy Allen incident in Winnipeg, same kind of thing. I would have said beforehand, before Teddy got involved in that and what happened, I would have said Winnipeg Scarborough for sure. Now, Winnipeg did make it, but they had to do it without Teddy. And I think Winnipeg could have given Scarborough, had that, been there, Teddy Allen versus, it would have been the Teddy Buckets against Miles Powell show. But, that's what happened to Scarborough. So, they're all 1, 2, 3 Cancun.
For the Sea Bears side of things, it's sort of now Xavier Moon running the show. Everyone's involved right now. And you mentioned the Canadians. Simon Hildebrand and Isaiah Osborne both playing in excess of 35 minutes. Mason Krause has been a big part of it as well. And
what a shot by Isaiah as well, Yeah. I don't know why when I'm watching Isaiah Osborne play for Winnipeg, you know what I think of? I think of Osborne Village. I think he's in Osborne Village. That's,
Maybe they can bring that trophy to the Village afterwards. They can win a couple more games. Rod, no excuse to not watch this one tonight. It is readily available.
It's on every channel.
Yeah,
it's on every channel tonight. It's on CBC. It's on TSN. It's on the Home Shopping Network. It's on it's on TSN and CBC. So they can't complain about not getting coverage. It's simulcast on TSN. We'll be doing the coverage. Charles Kissy and I will have that tonight. It's on CBC as well. They're carrying it. They have the rights. But yeah, for those of you who have never watched it before or watched CEBL, watch it. It's great basketball. It's high level, great caliber. And Hustler, I'm sure you're the same. I love the target score. I love
the best.
A target score.
It's the best. And listen, if you have not been to a Sea-Bears game yet, might I suggest your
Saturday, be there.
Saturday
Come
afternoon.
on, Winnipeg. Let's go, Transcona. It's affordable. For goodness sake, bring your flamingo.
Will you be making the trip here to the Peg for the weekend?
I'm going to try. I hope so. I don't know what our plans are. We might be doing it from studio, but I know last year I just had a ball. I thought Winnipeg, again, put on a great show at championship weekend, even though they were the host team. But it was the last championship weekend. They won't have that anymore. And if it was the last, of course, hey, we know the Peg knows how to put on shows, whether it's a Grey Cup, whether it's baseball, football, hockey. Peggers show up.
We'll hope that it's a championship weekend for the Sea-Bears here in Winnipeg on the weekend, but it starts tonight, 6 o'clock Winnipeg time. TSN, CBC, as Rod said, it's everywhere. Rod, we can't wait to see tip-off on Game 1 tonight and then get ready to welcome the championship series here to the Peg on the weekend. Thanks so much. Have a great broadcast tonight, and keep up the great work. Thanks so much for the time.
All right, thanks, Hustler.
Hockey season's just around the corner, and that means we'll be getting back to the Winnipeg Jet lines for Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Clean Line is your residential and commercial plumbing experts in Winnipeg, along with heating and electrical services, and have been Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers for over 40 years, with fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. Just like Adam Lowry has the backs of his teammates, Clean Line has yours. Mark the number down, 204-500-2001 for 24/7 emergency service when you need it most. You can also check out more on all Clean Line services and make an appointment online at cleanline.ca. Big congratulations to Roberto and our friends out at the Santa Lucia on Main Street who battled back from the last 2 years working to overcome a fire and just had a wonderful grand opening on the weekend. Popped out and saw a lot of happy people in the West K area to have their Santa Lucia back. If you have not been there, certainly suggest to try it out. They've got amazing happy hour specials, promos throughout the week, and obviously all your favorites from Santa Lucia. So all of you out in West K or that go up and down Main Street, 1473 Main, Santa Lucia is back open. It was a great grand opening on the weekend, but now it is business as usual. Pop by and see him today at Santa Lucia on Main Street. And congratulations to Roberto and the staff on getting back open for the people of Winnipeg. Hey, got to thank our friends at Manitoba Battery. Big Bomber game coming up on Friday night. And, of course, Manitoba Battery. Hopefully we can get a couple new batteries in that Bomber offense and defense after last week's game. Of course, Manitoba Battery, proud sponsor of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, powering the Bombers this season. And, of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk. Manitoba Battery is your local option where you'll find the best in batteries for literally everything at the lowest prices in town, period, along with the best in customer service. So pop by and see them on Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive out in the south end of the city. And if you can't make it down, you can give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com, and they can deliver those batteries to you anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg. For all your battery needs, save time, save money, shop local at Manitoba Battery with 2 locations to serve you. And folks, if you have a move coming up the rest of the summer, fall, or even into winter, you're going to need to check in with our friends over at Roley's Transfer. Family owned and operated for over 60 years and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. If you check out their website at roleys.com, up at the top corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. If you've got a move coming up, hit that. And then make sure to put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. Then simply let them know when and where you're planning on moving, what needs to be moved, and the friendly staff at Rollies will turn around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today online at rollies.com. All right, let's welcome in Brandon Rewucki. We'll get to the Bombers and the CFL coming up with Marhsall Ferguson in a few minutes. Rew, what's going on? How are you?
Doing good, boys. How are we doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I got to be honest. I'm fired up. What do you think of this lid? Nice little Seabers lid. How about that, eh? I mean, you know what? That's why they play the games, right? Everyone counted this team out. No Teddy Allen. Tillman dipped. Same with Emmanuel Acott. They just come together. Local guy Simon Hildebrand plays 36 minutes in the game, and they go into Vancouver where they couldn't win with a full roster, pull off the win, and now playing in the championship series tonight.
The Sea Bears, my biased opinion, got to be top 10 like basketball outfit, logo, the whole shebang. You know what I mean? Like it's a clean look. So I'm pretty jealous. I'm gonna have to grab me one of those. But it's amazing. Like. I'm totally with you. It's funny how it works sometimes like that, right? Where, due to unforeseen circumstances, they were a little short-handed, and then they find a way to rally, right? And a game away from glory now. So I love everything about the Sea Bears, and you and me maybe more so than like some of the younger generation, but like I always think of the old Cyclone games and how Winnipeg's a pretty sneaky good basketball town. And they just needed a good product to come here. And now that it's here, like I have people talking Sea Bears to me all the time. Like it's pretty remarkable. I love it.
I'm with you. We were at Princess Auto doing a show a couple weeks ago, and a young guy, and his name escapes me right now, Carson maybe, came up and said, "Hey, big fan of the show, whatever," and talking to us. And I think we brought up something about the Jets or the Bombers, and he's like, "Actually, you know what? I'm a Sea Bears guy. I go to every game. I'm locked in." Was so pumped that we were talking about it on the program, and we were at the last game, and I mean, listen, the crowd is different. I'd say it's a much more diverse crowd than we've seen than you see at at Jet games. Bombers maybe less so, but just because you have so many people there. But yeah, the job that they've done has been awesome. And I mean, they've been the bar of the league. I mean, it's such a good show in Winnipeg. The Bombers not playing well right now, but I mean, there's no doubt who the number one organization is right now, off the field and in the stands is Winnipeg. And from day one for the Sea Bears coming into this league, they have been the standard. And, we kind of thought that, for both of those teams, the Bombers and the Sea Bears, last year was going to be the big year. They were both hosting the championship, Bombers hosting the Grey Cup, Sea Bears hosting the championship tournament. Well, that didn't go well for either team. This was the year that the Sea Bears, the league's now gone to a far more, in my opinion, far more legitimate playoff format where you've got a best of 3 series. And, they've made it through, and you know what? Big for the CEBL too. Like this game tonight is on both TSN and CBC. I can't think of anything outside of like Olympics that has been televised on both of those channels at one point. So big opportunity for our team, but also I think a real good chance for the league to sort of show the talent that we've got playing in the CEBL.
Yeah, I mean, there's no more hockey night in Canada. Now it's basketball night in Canada. So take advantage, put on a good show. Hopefully, like just from because sometimes how some of these, I don't want to necessarily call it a minor league, right? But leagues outside the big ones, sometimes things can get a little crazy in games like this with so much on the line. So you just hope, like first and foremost, that the presentation goes extremely well, but that you never know, right? Like sometimes you wouldn't think necessarily that a certain sport in a certain city can take off, and then maybe this is the catalyst for that. So let's hope so.
Well, and you nailed it. I mean, like, and I don't know about you, but I mean, I grew up playing hockey. I played soccer for a couple of years, and I switched over to baseball. I played football from a young age. I mean, right through. But, you know, it was all like you'd go to your community center and you'd register for things like basketball was always a school sport. You know, you'd play it in gym. Maybe there was like intramural. And if you're into it, you know, once you got to junior high and senior high, there was a school team. But I never really played it. Like, and, you know, not having kids, I didn't really know this. The Winnipeg Youth Basketball Association is absolutely massive. And then you dive in a little bit more. I mean, the Filipino League, which, I mean, might at times draw as much, if not more, than the youth sports teams here, is huge. And, you know, now having this team with the job that they've done of putting on a show that makes it, I mean, the biggest thing that they ever did, and credit to David Asper, was finding a way to get these games into Canada Life Center. It's night and day what you see with some of the other ones. And as I say, I think it'll seem smaller on TV tonight in this Brampton rink. And then the big show comes this week. So, we just had Rod Black on. By the way, shout out to T. Conopoli for that super chat. Blackie, who doesn't recall those days at Saints roller rink? It's snowball time, LOL. Take care, Rod, from T. Kona. So, it was a good one. As far as the hockey goes, man, it's quiet right now. Although Tyrell Bauer did get a much deserved deal. Interesting to note that second year was a one-way, Brandon. How did you read that deal for Bauer? I mean, is that just doing him a solid, or hey, you know what? We want you as part of this organization. Good chance you'll be with the Moose a majority of the time, but you have earned it. You're important enough to this organization that, you know, over the course of these 2 years, you're going to get this much money? Or do you think that it might be a sign that this guy is going to get a legitimate chance to maybe it's just be a seventh defenseman, but be a part of the big club?
You know, it's funny. I literally just had a buddy text me a couple hours ago saying that his hot take for the Jets this year is that Ty Bauer plays over 40 games. And I was like, I don't know if I'd go that high. But like I do get the line of thinking behind it, because let's face it, this team really since the return, like they don't mind having a bit of a, and I say this in an endearing way, a bit of a psycho on the team. You know what I mean? Like a guy like, I mean, you know, Logan Stanley, I think, held that role, and it was obvious that management and coaching had, you know, a big soft spot for that. Right? Like a guy that, regardless of how good they were at it, a guy that...
I was just about to say, like, they always wanted him to be that guy, but I'm sorry, Logan Stanley is not that dude. Like, you know, he did it, and like, I actually sort of feel sorry for Stan in some ways, in that he was drafted to be a certain sort of guy, and that really wasn't... I think he always thought of himself as a first-round defenseman, a guy that could move, and, you know, not truly... I mean, listen, I shouldn't say he embraced it when they needed to do it. You know, he was there over the last little bit, but I mean, he wasn't, I think, a natural fighter.
And no, he wasn't great at it. No, I think that's fair to say. Like,
he wasn't a guy.
He was just
Bauer.
big.
Bauer is cut from a very, very different cloth. And when you see what he's done with the Moose, and the season that he had last year, and listen, I know there's a bunch of people that just write the guy off. He's big, he can't skate. Made big strides last year, was very reliable defensively, was a great penalty killer, and as tough as hell as anyone you're going to see skate on the ice right now. Like, is that not exactly what this team sort of needs? And even if it's not 12, 13 minutes a night, I mean, I ask this question all the time to my friends when we're talking about it. Who's the second toughest guy on the team after Adam Lowry? Like, if all hell breaks loose, who's number 2 in there? It's a very difficult question to answer.
Yeah, there probably isn't. I mean, there isn't one right now. Like, that's just not how this team is built at the moment. So you know, you look back throughout and realistically, like, they've had the same GM the whole time. But, you know, how many years did Anthony Peluso play as a regular member? You know, Chris Thorburn, long time in
and that was at
role,
the time
right?
when you had Dustin Byfuglien.
Yeah,
I mean, think about that. Like, Buff was the unicorn who could take care of literally anyone, had the intimidation, he had all that. The second he left, I mean, you're missing an elite number one defenseman. You're listening on the power play. Less talked about, though, was that physical element. And to be honest, for a while, it wasn't that big of a deal. But I know you watch a ton of games out of market. I mean, you saw what happened in the East last year. You saw that arms race. You see what happens when the Florida teams play together. Like, I'm sorry, and I know a lot of people maybe don't like to acknowledge this, but that is still a big part of the National Hockey League. And until the rules change significantly, intimidation and toughness is always going to be something that you're going to need to be prepared to deal with. And I will definitely argue that if you take Tyrell Bauer out of the equation right now for the Winnipeg Jets as presently constructed, they are at a big-time deficit for that with a lot of smaller, younger players that, to be honest, I think need a bit of backup.
Yeah, it's why I don't, 40 games, when my buddy said that, I was like, that's a lot of games, man. But I can also envision, and I'm not even saying that I agree with it necessarily, but I can envision a scenario where with Salamonson being uncertain of when he returns to the lineup injury-wise, and if one or two other guys get banged up, during exhibition and training camp, if Bauer doesn't get, a bit more of an opportunity, lights the Canada Life Center up, doesn't look overwhelmed, that for Winnipeg Jets management and coaching, that they look at that and go, we can work with that as a seventh defenseman. And then I could see a spot where he gets into the lineup. And again, if he's not overwhelmed, I don't think they're anticipating him being like a lockdown third pair guy, but they might look at it through the lens of, is the gap from league average third pair defenseman to Ty Bauer so insanely massive that it's going to cost us game after game? They might look at it and go, we'll take the trade-off because of all the intangibles that you mentioned.
Yeah, and those league average defensemen are Jack St. Ivany, who we don't really know much about. I mean, he's 6'4", but, I mean, he's certainly not a penalty minute guy. I'm not going to judge whether he's a tough guy or not, but, I mean, just basically that hasn't seemingly been part of his game, at least the rough stuff. And we certainly know what they've got in Hayden Fleury. And here, are you buying or selling this take that I had yesterday on the program? I actually think that maybe not getting an opportunity at the end of last year, and likely, at least I'm hoping, getting an opportunity earlier this year with Mario Ferraro as your defense partner on the third pairing puts him in a far better situation to succeed than maybe it would have been last year, playing with the collection of characters that they had as that would have been on the left side of that third pairing.
Right. And that's fair. I mean, like for me, I would just like to see how Bauer can process the game at the NHL pace, right? Like, I'll be honest, I don't catch a ton of Moose games. I see the odd one every once in a while. So I know a little bit about his game, but not a ton. But if he goes out there and it's just clear as day that he can't process quick enough, he can't move the puck to a palatable degree, then he's not an NHL guy. And
you move on.
Yeah, then it, if the team keeps throwing him out there, we've got a bigger issue in terms of, just scouting and ability to discern who can and can't play at the NHL level on the back end. But if he can come in, and again, you're not asking him to put up 15 points even, right? But like if he can come down there and he's not getting buried, and like you said, he can complement somebody who does a lot of the heavy lifting on that pair, and then he gives you what a lot of the people want, and energy, excitement, protection, whether you believe it or not, I can see a world where the Jets value that a lot more than the average fan. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't think it's just here's a one-way salary next year, thanks for your service. I think the Jets will legitimately give him an opportunity to be a 6, 7, 8 guy at the NHL level, knowing that he can do something nobody else on the team can do right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, moving on, I guess there's still question marks as to if something happens with Connor Hellebuck. That noise will get a lot louder in a couple of weeks as we get closer to training camp and people sort of get back to work. Let me fire you off just a list of the top remaining free agents right now in the NHL. And this isn't specific to Winnipeg or the Jets. But ironically, the top 2 guys on that list are both former first-rounders from the Jets in 2016. Laine, Logan Stanley. Then you've got Tarasenko, Michael Bunting, Eli Tolvanen, who's the one guy that's under 30, like Stan. Everyone else is sort of mid to late 30s in this group. Talbot, John Klingberg, and then like a JVR, Connor Ingram, Jonathan Drouin, interestingly enough, at only 31 years old, is there. Adam Henrique, Carson Soucy. Who's the next guy to sign? And how many of these guys are going to be unemployed when we drop the puck on the regular season, in your opinion?
You know, it's really hard for me to quit Patty Laine, man. Like, I just see the potential there, and it's like at this point, it's almost like what is like literally what would be the floor of a Laine deal, right? Or like worst case scenario.
Well, the floor is a PTO because that's what the Islanders offered, and they said thanks but no thanks. And I mean, as of right now, he still doesn't have a deal.
Yeah, but like I just there to me, there's a lot more upside in that. And even if you viewed him as, you know, when he comes onto the team and if he plays good, we flip him at the deadline. Like, that's not the worst thing in the world. The team, I know he doesn't play a bruising style, but like they do need size. Just kind of intrigued a little bit. You know, you're not insulating him with a Selke winger, but like I'm just wondering a little bit about if Laine is in the right headspace, what he could potentially do offensively with Bjork and Perfetti. But I mean, the name I realistically like and think would be a fit is Eeli Tolvanen. And that was a guy I thought at the start of free agency would be a nice fit for Winnipeg. You know, he's shown well in his opportunities when he gets them. Like, he scored at a pretty decent rate for the Preds. He had that one really, really good year with Seattle. And on a kind of show me, prove it 1-year deal, I think the Jets could do a lot worse than having Tolvanen in the mix, right? It at least gives you another option. And even if he's not a second liner for you, I mean, I think he gives you a little more offensive punch than some of the other players that are in the bottom 6. It just changes up the group too. Like, at some point you need to change the mix. I'm kind of a believer in that sometimes, you know, rooms can get static and just almost making change for the sake of change sometimes can be a bit of an injection of energy and excitement. So I think he'd be a good fit. You know, I like the junkyard dog that Bunting has to offer. I just don't know if he has a lot of upside at this point that the Winnipeg would be looking for. So I think all, you know, as far as the forwards you mentioned, they'll all get opportunities. I think somebody's going to sign Laine. Like, there's just we know how teams are just desperate for high-end talent, and if it's a 1-year deal and you hope he pops off 30 for you, like I think that's an easy bet for a lot of GMs to make. I don't think it's going to happen here in Winnipeg, but Tolvanen to me would be, and Tarasenko's been good too, but I think Tolvanen would be maybe the crown jewel out of the heap that's left over from the frenzy.
Yeah, I would have thought the Jets might have been in there a little bit more if they weren't dealing with that last year of a contract on both Nino and Vlad Domestikov. And I mean, those two guys, it's very interesting when you think about their situations coming in. I mean, you know, if you pull up DFO, I mean, obviously Nino Niederreiter's there, but Vigo Bjork's going to have a spot to get things going. And then you've got a group of players in Brad Lambert, Isaac Rosane, Danny Zhilkin, Nikita Chibrikov. I mean, these guys are all at a point where they're legitimately challenging, probably bring more certainly in a speed role than the guys that we've just talked about. And, you know, with 1 year left on contracts, it's not like you're married to these guys and you can't move on. And, I mean, the conversations around competition at camp, if they truly do have an open competition for some of the spots, I think he's going to either have to bring out a hell of a lot better version of the two veterans than we saw last year, or it will be some younger guys in those roles.
I can't help but think that the Hellebuck anvil looming over everything isn't going to solve a bunch of this. Because, I mean, if we assume, like, say it's Buffalo, for example, we know there's going to be at least one forward coming back, if not multiple. The Sabres have made no moves this offseason in terms of, like, I mean, with what they've lost so far, if they're moving out, they then need to bring in. And I would imagine that if a Winnipeg Buffalo trade is consummated, that it is not just Connor Hellebuck going the other way, that there's several pieces involved here. I don't know exactly what Buffalo might be looking for, but I have to imagine the logjam is figured out a little bit once that deal potentially happens. Now, if it doesn't, you're right that, you know, this does become a little bit crowded here. It's tough to get a grasp on what the Jets think. I mean, if you're just going by historically what they've done, they'll give Vladdy a job, they'll give Nino a job, and they'll maybe graduate one of those young guys up. But despite providing a bit of optimism for the younger players, the Jets with this current batch, I don't know if they're overly enthusiastic about it enough to move out a Nino or a
The
Vladdy.
only thing is, what's a little different though is that some guys are no longer waivers exempt, and could potentially be plucked, and then you just simply don't have them. I mean, like, their decisions may be making at cutdown day as to who's going to be on the waiver wire. I think might be a little eye-opening. And I mean, the last thing that you want to do is develop players, get them to the point where you feel like maybe they're ready to go, and before they even get into playing a regular shift, they're on the New Jersey Devils, or they're on the Habs, or they're somewhere else in the league. And that's why, where those two veterans fit. Like, are they in the opening day lineup? Are they extras? Are they exposed? Are they moved? And do you have obvious replacement players for them? Because I think we saw towards the end of the season, when they put those younger players in, the team did better. They looked more competitive. They certainly looked a lot faster. And let's face it, like, I'm not totally writing off Nemestikov and Niederreiter. Those guys have both done a lot of good things in their NHL careers. But it's very clear that they are up for a challenge, unlike any other time that they've been at Winnipeg, due to both the young players getting ready, but also the circumstances with, no easy options of just putting guys on waivers that can then be plucked.
Yeah, that's fair. But I look at Nino, and at least you can kind of explain away, like, he was dealing with the knee injury. He wanted to play in the Olympics. Whether you agree with it or not, like, I can see Nino coming back and being a solid, I guess, bottom sixer, we'll call him. Like, I think there's still some game left in Nino. Vladdy, to me, is the one where it's like he's been an amazing soldier, an amazing pickup given what they gave up for him. But, like, that might be the one guy where you could see, is the drop-off that big between him and, name your young Winnipeg Jet prospect or player. And so, yeah, that's a scenario I could see definitely taking place. I mean, again, to me, the intriguing part is if the big trade goes down, like we all think it might, I'm almost more intrigued to see who Buffalo's interested in. Like, would they rather go for a Nino or a Vladdy, or do they want to maybe take a punt on one of Winnipeg's youngsters?
Zach Rosane?
Zach Rosane could be a good fit in Buffalo. You never know. So I just, it's come along slower, much slower than we all anticipated. But I still just think, like, if you look at everything from a surface level, the Skinner signing, all the smoke that's gone along with it, I still think we do get some resolution on this. And then the training camp battles, I think, become a lot clearer, and there'll be very few spots to fight over at that point. But I'm intrigued to see how other teams value Winnipeg's forward group, as opposed to how they've internally set the pecking order this last year or two.
Brandon, great stuff, buddy. Have a good one, and we'll look forward to catching up in the next couple of weeks as we get closer to flipping the calendar to September and getting ready for training camp.
Beauty. Sounds good, guys. We'll talk soon.
Good stuff. Just to cap off that conversation, let me throw out the why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Who of these players, in your opinion, plays the most NHL games this season? Brad Lambert, Isaac Rosane, Danny Zhilkin, Nikita Chiprikov. And hell, while we're at it for Tikon Apollo, you can put in Tyrell Bauer. I know he's a defenseman, but another guy challenging for a job with the Winnipeg Jets. Let us know in the chat for the why not question of the day. Coming up next on the program, we're going to take a trip around the CFL with the always insightful Marhsall Ferguson of TSN. Well, Friday night, Princess Auto Stadium is going to be the place to be as the Bombers looking to get back in the win column against the Ottawa Redblacks. 7 days a week, though, the place to be is the brand new Princess Auto at 500 Panet Road. Of course, Princess Auto founded and headquartered right here in Winnipeg, and now coast to coast across the country now has opened their flagship store, 105,000 square feet at 500 Panet Road. And if you haven't been in there, book off a little bit of time and check it out. Make sure to check out the shop where you've got all the tools there. You can learn them, free classes with Reed Carruthers and his great staff there. Obviously, an expanded stock of literally everything, including hunting, fishing, camping, and even a spot where you can try out archery equipment and crossbows and whatnot. Oh, and don't forget, come hungry, breakfast sandwiches, incredible smash burgers. It is a new shopping experience that Winnipeg's never seen before. 500 Panet Road at the brand new Princess Auto. And of course, you can check them out online at princessauto.com. Our friends at Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli have had one heck of a summer, and that's not a new thing. They've been doing it for 80 years as the preeminent power sports superstore in Manitoba. If you are looking for new or used motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, boats and outboard motors, or recreational vehicles, Chud's Power Sports is your number one spot for that. So head on up to Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. Check in with the Derminator and our friends out at Chud's. They'll take very good care of you. And even if summer's winding down for you and you're already looking around to the corner to the snow flying, great 2027 promos and deals on snow machines as well coming up. And it's all waiting for you at Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's power sports superstore for over 80 years up in Gimli. You can start shopping today and get those ideas going online at chudspowersports.com. Been a great summer for our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. Saw Dr. Terry on the weekend getting out of town, but it's back to work for he and his team as everyone gets ready for the school year. St. Vital Dental Center has been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. So if you are looking for a long-term home for you and your family at one of the top dental clinics, make it St. Vital Dental Center. Beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. And St. Vital Dental Center is where you'll get everything taken care of in one spot, from things like cleanings and checkups to dental surgeries and dental implants. They do it all. So for all your dental needs, hit them up online at St. Vital Dental Center. Make an appointment, and when you pop in, tell them the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. Wow, what a sports weekend we've got coming up. Big weekend in the Canadian Football League. Jays are still grinding, trying to hang in there. We've got the CEBL Championship Series, and of course, NFL right around the corner, which means get ready to spend some time at your local Boston Pizza. No better place to get together with your gang for the big game than your local BP and enjoy ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more, and all the great vibe of Boston Pizza lounges. If you're not at the games, the next best place to be is Boston Pizza. And don't forget, if you're staying at home, you can always get the great taste of BP by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Huge weekend coming up in the Canadian Football League. Always a treat to welcome in one of the voices of TSN CFL football, Marhsall Ferguson, to the program. Marsh, what's up? How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be on with you. I'm just coming off of a bike trip that somehow was a week long, was a bit of a blur. 2 CFL games, did Thursday in Toronto, Saturday in Montreal, and then had to fit in some motorcycle work around that stuff with the Canadian Superbike Championship. So it's been very hectic, but I took 24 hours to go sit in the woods and Nothing wrong with ever doing that to try and hit the reset button.
That's a perfect segue into where our Bombers are at right now, because they might have needed more than 24 hours to sit in the woods. And I would say they definitely needed a reset button after the first 8 games of the season, finishing up with a thud with that loss at home to BC. The record is 4-4. I mean, it could be far worse, and they're somewhat fortunate that Calgary's lost a bunch of games. BC's had this slow start, but Marsh, coming off that game, which I think most in Winnipeg agree might be the worst of the Mike O'Shea era, where do you see the Bombers at right now, getting Zach Collaros back against a winless Ottawa team, but with Montreal, Edmonton, and Saskatchewan right around the corner after this game on Friday night?
Yeah, it's a heck of a murderer's row as you head through that stretch. I would say, too, don't look past Ottawa, because imagine how much worse this would be with a loss coming out of a bye to a Redblacks team, right?
You can't take anything for granted right now. We saw that 2 weeks ago against the Lions.
And that's not me, because I think Winnipeg should beat Ottawa, and based on what we've seen from the Redblacks. But that is me saying, theoretically, if that were to happen, man, how much worse would things feel and get, right? I think the biggest thing that is concerning for me is when you look across the CFL, and we understand Mike Benavides has done a great job with the run defense of the BC Lions, but to go from having 60 rush yards allowed per game, which the BC Lions do, to Winnipeg averaging 141. Now I understand that that's all skewed because of the massive game that BC Lions had against them, but that's terrifying, man. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the bodies that are in there, I understand that Serezna and Willie J are doing their thing and getting off the edge and tied for the league lead in sacks with Clarence Hicks and Matthew Betts, I believe. But when you go past that and you think about Tony Jones is in, and then you still got a talented secondary. You guys got a rallying downhill to know what they're doing. I think my bigger concern, maybe beyond kind of the surface level stuff of, are we using Brady enough, and is Zach going to be really good to go, and all that, is just that defense has given up too many points this year. And in the West, where Fajardo's flying, Trevor Harris is locked in, VA's capable of 50 points any given game, you just kind of start looking around, and it's I don't think anybody can be taken lightly at this point. The Redblacks should probably have 2 or 3 wins that they haven't found a way to get at the end of the game. So to me, it's they're kind of due, and Winnipeg's going to have to really do their homework this week, because keep in mind, too, the game where Drew Brown played in Ottawa against Ottawa, that was not pretty. It was not fun for anybody. And so I fully expect that they're going to get their best. But yeah, it's weird times in Winnipeg right now.
The Ottawa team, Marsh, has been, kind of behind it right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think they're going to come in with a real burr in their saddle, knowing that they completely handed that game over to Winnipeg a few weeks ago when they were up 14 in the fourth quarter. But since then, you've seen one of the the coordinator fired. You've had releases of veteran players in back-to-back weeks. How bleak are things right now? And if you're the Ottawa Redblacks, is this even, I guess first things first, is just find a way to win a damn football game and then move on from there.
Yeah, definitely. I said this, I forget what game it was, about 2-3 weeks ago, Huss, where it reminded me of a really bad team that I had played on in the past. It was a summer youth football league kind of thing. But we were 0-8, and I remember learning that bad football teams just take turns finding ways to lose, and sometimes inventing new and creative ways to lose. And that was kind of my feeling around Ottawa about 2-3 weeks in, because I thought if they were going to be losing this many games right out of the gate, it was going to be because Jake Maier was kind of subpar, or maybe there was some offensive drama or whatever. And Maier has not really been the problem, I would say, through and through. It is, but this is the thing about teams that end up having the bad luck, or just are created in a framing that makes them vulnerable to these bad situations, is you go into a game and you keep saying, we just need someone to make a play. And maybe somebody does make a play. Maybe Justin Hardy is great. Maybe Neverhart stands up on his head, or you get some crazy performance from the defense. But bad teams that lose a lot of football games, you basically start to live in fear of when the big negative play is going to come, and it never feels like it comes in the same way. And that's what Ottawa has been to me, is you down at the goal line, 3 shots, no, can't get it done. Oh, look, we're driving. Oh, interception. Oh, man, we're going to get Chad Kelly to throw us the ball 4 times back in week 2. We got this. Oh, we don't. it's like every single time that you go through these unique situations and they all go against you, your brain just starts to believe that something bad is coming around the corner because it's happened so many times over. So credit to that room for being able to stay locked in. The transaction line is starting to move a lot on Ottawa, though, which tells me that they've realized that this might be kind of like a rebuilding year and trying to figure out who they have and what they're going to do moving forward. Because like I don't think, especially with the way Montreal looks, even if you're Ottawa and you squeak into the playoffs somehow, Montreal is not going to get stopped, I don't think, in the East at this point. From everything I've seen, I'm just incredibly impressed by them. So if I'm Ottawa, I start thinking about how do we actually build this thing properly up, because it seems like they got a ton of work to do, not just from the win-loss column, but just from the way the games have played out.
Yeah, I mean, my take is similar. I mean, I think that we've seen that Dinwiddie over the last couple of weeks has realized where they're at right now, and this is now more about getting guys out that aren't with the program, identifying players that can be difference makers moving forward, and essentially playing for next year. But there is an element of living in the moment. And I mean, you're a professional football player. You're paid to win. And I can't imagine. It probably feels like you've just got a big black cloud around the team at all times when there's a 0 in the win column approaching the midway point of a season.
Dinwiddie's such a competitive guy too that I don't know if he's ever been in a situation like this, like whether it's as a player or as a coach at any level, like probably all the way back to like Pop Warner type, because I certainly don't think he's ever had this experience when he's been a coach. So for him to be in this spot, I think he's having to learn a lot about himself. And to do that in your first year on the job when you've been given a promotion and you've jumped from an Argonauts team that admittedly looks chaotic and flawed, and Chad Kelly throws 4 interceptions again this past week against the Calgary Stampeders, which was my favorite part of the broadcast, was teeing up Paul LaPolice on that when I did the research on air. And then this is the first time Chad's thrown 4 interceptions since, and Lapo was like, I don't know, and I said week 2. He's like, oh. It's like that probably shouldn't be. And by the way, you won both of those games, which Tom Gazzola informed me the last CFL quarterback to throw 4 interceptions in 2 different games that are both victories was Danny McManus with the Cats back in 2000. So so that's a pretty ridiculous and amazing stat line right there. But I just feel as though they've got to find answers, and they are few and far between at this point, because you can only make so many transactions and fire so many coaches. And like the William Fields thing of getting fired in Ottawa, totally useless firing, in my opinion. Like, that guy's schemes were not broken, and we all know how this works, right? When you're building a campfire, you start with some paper, and then there's kindling, and then there's the large logs. And to me, I was around the Hamilton Tiger Cats in 2017, I think it was, when they were 0-8, and they lose this game. Well, we got to let a position coach go. They lose the next. Well, we got to let a coordinator go. They lose the next. Well, now we got. It's like at some point, June Jones is going to be coming in replacing Kent Austin, because this is a mess, and we've already gone from the paper to the kindling to the fire. The fire just keeps burning its way north, and at this point, like, I don't think Dinwiddie's at any risk. I know Sean Burke's not at risk, so it turns into, I don't know, let's fire our defensive coordinator and just see if that makes everybody feel like the refresh button has been set. To me, it's such a useless decision that kind of booted one of the good guys, I think, in the CFL out of a spot that he didn't deserve to lose.
Moving away from Bombers Ottawa on Friday night, tomorrow it's BC Calgary. You were mentioning the Toronto-Calgary game, which was a very sloppy affair. And to be honest, Calgary, VA, who'd just been tearing the league apart, 1 million touchdowns, no picks, goes for 159, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But all that notwithstanding, with the way that the Calgary offense has played so far this year, it's somewhat stunning that they're 4-5. And if they don't beat BC, Marsh, despite all the fireworks they've done offensively, this team will be last in the West. Yeah,
it is crazy. Like, the BC Lions, I think, are the most confusing team to me in this CFL season, because of the preseason projection that I had for them and then where they've ended up. Like, I knew the Toronto Argonauts were going to be chaotic and fun and strange, just because it's like when you hire a guy that deeply believes in Chad Kelly to be your head coach and Mike Miller, you go internal, you give him a vote of support. That told me that they were all in on the Chad Kelly experience, and the Chad Kelly experience is rip it up and down the field for better or worse. that's not really confusing to me. BC is, even when healthy, sometimes you're watching a game and it's like, well, Nathan Rourke looks really good, and then the stat line doesn't look really good. Or it'll be, the backup quarterback's in, and now we're like a power run-heavy team. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool to mix this up. And then all of a sudden they can't really throw the football effectively, which we're not used to seeing from a BC Lions team with Keon Hatcher on the field. Defensively, they really struggled at the start of the season. Then they just somehow had the secret sauce to figure out how to shut down Justin Rankin in back-to-back games. And like the random nature of this stuff sometimes is incredible when you really piece together the big picture, because the Lions should be so much better than where they are at right now. But it kind of feels like, and it's how it always works right in the standings, as one team starts to surprisingly rise, another team starts to surprisingly dip. It's a zero-sum game. And to me, Edmonton actually taking steps of progress and building has led to, with not, again, just judged by the win-loss column, but just by the style that they're playing, the way that they look, all the rest, that the BC Lions have just kind of like slowly slid backwards in those standings and power rankings and those kind of things of how we perceive these teams. So I'm surprised to see that that's where they're at right now. But I also know, like, the backbreaker in 2025 was the back-to-back games that BC had against Calgary, where in one of them VA got hurt, then Walker came in for a little while, and then they ended up having to use Quincy Vaughn at quarterback. I remember that game because they were down to their third-string quarterback emergency guy. They were down 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. VA had 2 interceptions at home. Like, it was a mess. So if the Calgary Stampeders are actually going to take a real step forward here, having to exercise some of those demons from last year against the BC Lions is probably a good place to do it.
You mentioned Calgary, and that's the team that's the most confounding to me. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Now, again, they have played 9 games, so, I mean, there are a bunch of teams with 8, but, I mean, they're far and away the highest scoring team in the league. I guess the Montreal Alouettes are right now, with, probably by game. Or no, I should say they both played 9, so they're 30 ahead of Montreal. They had a walk-off loss in week 1 against the Bombers, a walk-off loss in week 2. They put up 30 in back-to-back weeks against Montreal, but didn't get the win. And I think everyone thought, okay, they're 4-4 going into last week. This team is much better than their record is. Kind of the same way people are saying that the Bombers aren't as good as their 4-4 record is. And then they do what they did last week against the Argos. And as I said, if BC wins, BC gets to 4-5. Calgary's going to be 4-6. Like, is this some sort of illusion that we're just getting, mesmerized by the crazy offense that they've had in some games against some poor defenses, and this team is what they are? Or are the Calgary Stampeders much better than their record is? Not that matters much when you go to the standings.
Yeah, I think they're better than their record shows. I think they've had an inability to close games out and get those gritty victories, which is why I thought the win that they had on the road in Hamilton, albeit a Trey Ford / Harrison Frost game, not a Bo Levi Mitchell game, but when they got that victory, I was like, that was a hard-fought road victory after coming out here. Now, again, the confusing part for me of the Calgary Stampeders is that they follow up that really solid, well-strung together, well-rounded Ben LaBrosse gets an interception, all the rest, by losing a game to Chad Kelly, who throws 4 interceptions. So the consistency of the Calgary Stampeders is the part that I think is lacking from what we've seen from Edmonton. Now, I say that with the Elks just coming off of a game in which they looked like they didn't really have much energy, and Montreal made them pay the price. But I think that the Calgary Stampeders are, at worst, a West semi, probably a West final team, depending on what happens in the shakedown of seeding and all the rest with Edmonton and Saskatchewan. I don't foresee Winnipeg at this point factoring into this thing. And I think the BC Lions have just put themselves in such a hole right now, and going through some of the injuries that they have, that both those teams, let's be real, all teams in the CFL have the ability to turn things around and to take off like a rocket and all of a sudden go on a 5-game winning streak. The question becomes, which one do you have the most confidence will actually do it? The Calgary Stampeders, to me, feel like a team that's ready to go on a heater, but then they drop a game where their quarterback throws 4 interceptions. So trying to figure out what it is that will allow them to kind of unleash all of that talent that they have in-house, I think, is the biggest question for me. So, yeah, I'm with you. They're confusing. They have their ups and downs. There's been more ups this year. I will say that. Like, seeing their offense play at such a high level, you're right, they can take advantage of any situation. The games are very, very well called with Pat Delmonico and Dave Dickinson all working together, talking things through on the offense. So, yeah, they've got the potential, I think, to be a really dangerous team in the West. I just feel like Saskatchewan and Edmonton are too damn good right now, though.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it does clearly see. And, Jeff and I on CFL 110 went through sort of our, rankings, the top, we're pretty much at the midway point of the season for some teams. Others will be after this weekend. And I don't know if you disagree. It seems like it's Montreal, a gap, and maybe that's not being fair to Saskatchewan, but certainly so far at 8-1, it seemed like they're the class of the league. And then you got Saskatchewan and Edmonton, and another gap, and then sort of everyone else. And, call it Toronto, call it Calgary. I mean, obviously it's not Ottawa. It's not Hamilton without Bo Levi Mitchell. Certainly doesn't look like it's the Bombers these days. But, I mean, is Montreal clearly the team to beat? And what's it going to take to beat the Alouettes the way that they're rolling right now?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I heard Milt Stiegel and Davis Sanchez kind of going over this, and they said you got to hope for, really bad weather. Obviously you're not going to hope for an injury of any sort, but it's like you just got to hope that Davis Alexander has a really strange off day, because otherwise I don't think Montreal can be touched. I am so impressed by them this year, the way that they can control every aspect of the game. Even when they've got injuries, they got guys out on defense. Their special teams are solid. Good return game, good kicking, good punting, but then special teams coverage is great. Tavo Richards and some of those other guys, big bodies flying down the field. When Canton Arku is healthy, he plays a ton of reps everywhere. Their defense is so, again, well-rounded. They can play so many different styles, because when you add Micah Awe to the fray, as much as you lost Darnell Sankey, you got basically Tyrese Bevered, who's a defensive back playing linebacker. You got Canton Arku, who's a linebacker playing D-line at times. You just move all those pieces around. They've been incredible. Jason Moss has kind of won me over in the conversations I've had with him too, going into games, because he is so honest and so confident in the program that they have built. The whole structure from Danny through AC to Moss to Noel Thorpe. It's every direction that you look on game day with Byron Archambault on special teams, great positional coaches. There's leadership in place. There's a core group. There's continuity. There's top end quarterback play. There's elite Canadian receiver play. All of those things come together. And every time I watch the Montreal Alouettes, I'm with you. I'm if they're healthy, I have no idea how anybody is supposed to run with them. I guess the best thing that you can do against the Alouettes is to try and squeeze the football and just drain the game out and not give away any turnovers and, condense everything. But even when you're playing a super conservative style like that, there's a chance that you might do that for a quarter and a half, and we're really sticking to our plan of trying to squeeze the air out of the football here and get to the fourth quarter and see if we can make it a one-score game. And Davis Alexander might just go crazy on you and throw for 400, and Tyson Philpott has 3 touchdowns. So, and if he doesn't, then Tyler Snead would. And I think that's, as I watch Montreal more and more, I just keep going, it's a very well-rounded, very driven team. It's pretty special to watch in person.
Davis Alexander as a field general is just playing the lights out right now, and I'm sure he's going to be the runaway favorite for him, MOP. But we got to talk about Philpott. Dude, Philpott, I'll get your perspective as a Canadian covering this game. Canadian receiver, he's on pace to not just break, but smash the all-time records for receiving yards in a season, and I believe touchdowns. It truly is a special season that we're seeing right now. And I know we focus a lot on Alexander, but I think as we get more into the second half, if these numbers continue, the history watch for Philpott is going to be far more on the front page of CFL discussions.
Yeah, I always think about this because sometimes I have to write an article for CFL.ca about, awards or, who's kind of hot in the most outstanding Canadian chase I did this week. And when I start thinking these things through, MOP is always going to lean quarterback. It's the same as the Heisman, same as the NFL MVP. It's just the way it is. I always wonder to myself as I'm writing these articles, I'm what is the equation? At what point is there a percentage of receiving yards from a great quarterback play that needs to be had by one receiver in order to make him a legitimate favorite for these kind of things? I haven't figured that one out yet, but I do think that we are headed directly towards a potential, basically 2-horse race for the MOP, and they're both on the same team if they continue to play this sort of way. But I guess for me, it's just special because I have known Tyson for a while, and I've seen him grow. I've seen his game change. I've seen him go through injuries, and him doing stuff like that, kind of like timing his jump and then floating and then getting the touchdown grab from Davis Alexander on the weekend. He's playing with so much confidence at this point where he's basically just out there running around doing whatever he wants. And like, he's not the type of guy to lip off at an opponent and talk a bunch of smack, but he plays the game in a way that is like the most smack talky, like after every catch, he just stands up and you can tell that he's almost having like an out of body experience in a bunch of these games over the last month, 2 months. And I feel like I've never seen him be used in so many different and interesting ways as well. Like screen game, that used to be K on Julian Grant when he was in Montreal. Now they can give it to Tyson or they can give it to Tyler Snead. Deep balls, the home run shots, he's always been that guy. Intermediate, 2nd and 12, 2nd and 6, they need a little crossing route, they can go to Philpott. I think that's what's making him so hard to defend, is that defenses are looking at him and going, all right, well, what's the book on him? And it's like, I don't know, he's great. That's basically the book, is like, what are the tendencies? But alignment, assignment, sure, you can go through all that stuff, but it doesn't matter what they give him. He just finds the answers. And him and Davis Alexander, and like their offseason throwing, some of the chemistry stuff that they did, a bit of an extended stay working on route breakdowns and timing and dropbacks, it's paid off in such a huge way at this point. I called the game in Edmonton that they had their lone loss of the year. It was in overtime, and if a call went the other way and the ball was doomed to be last touched by Montreal on a fumble along the sideline in a very wet day at Commonwealth, they're undefeated. So like, how do you beat them? I don't know. You go to overtime, you pray for rain, and then you hope that the refs don't see that you fell on the football at the wrong time, and then the game is over. So it's crazy what they're doing. It's wonderful.
I do not envy the members of the Football Reporters of Canada and Montreal that are going to have to decide between those two guys for the Alouette.
But why do you have to? That bothers me so much. And Dwayne Ford and I have always said that it's the easiest fix for the new commissioner, Stuart Johnson. And Dwayne and I have said, hey, it's not complicated. You just leave it open to whoever the best 3 players are from the division. Like it's a couple of years ago when we had to pick between Brady Oliveira and Tyrell Ford for like most outstanding Canadian. I'm like, what are we doing? Who cares? Who cares? They play on the same team. I don't care. If they're the best players, they at least need the recognition of it, because think about how ridiculous it would be. And obviously they're going to be there because there'll be plenty of awards and all CFL this and that, and they might actually be in the game as we've been talking about. But how ridiculous would it be to see a most outstanding player ballot that doesn't include both Davis Alexander and Tyson Philpott at this point? Like we are ruining our own. And if you want to make it that you have to have 3 nominees total, and there has to be at least 1 representative from each division, so that you don't have a year where it's all guys from the West or all guys from the East. Sure, there's plenty of ways to do this. Just the way that we're doing it right now, Hasa, obviously it fires me up, because I don't understand why we would be at peace with, guys, what are we doing for the awards? Well, we have to decide between potentially the 2 best players in the entire damn league, and only one of them is going to get recognized as even being good. And that's like, that doesn't make any sense.
You're preaching to the choir. I mean, if you're going to have 2, you're going to have 3 finalists. If the 3 best players in the Canadian Football League all happen to be in one division or the other, they still probably deserve to be the guys that are up on the podium, potentially getting the award. Marsh, great stuff. I'll look forward to you and Farhan doing the game on Saturday in Edmonton between the Argos and the Elks. We'll catch up soon. Keep that bike tuned up, and I hope you have a great rest of the summer, pal.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
Hard to believe that hockey season is just about here, but if you head down to Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway, you'll know that it is. Royal Sports has been Manitoba's hockey superstore for over 50 years. And with players getting back into camps, training, and getting ready for training camps, the Royal Sports hockey department is a very busy place. For new players, they've got you covered from top to bottom, whether it's sticks, skates, equipment for goalies. Royal has it all. And the best part about it is they've got hockey players working in the hockey department to make sure they're getting you fitted properly and getting the right equipment for your level and need. It's not just hockey, though, of course. We've got everything coming from the summer. Huge selection of bikes and e-bikes, soccer, softball, baseball, tennis. And for your fan gears coming in, new NHL merch and new NFL merch coming by the week. It's all waiting for you at Royal Sports. Manitoba's sports superstore, 750 Pembina Highway. Give them a follow on Instagram for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. What a run and season it's been for our Winnipeg Goldeyes, who did not sweep the weekend. The incredible franchise record winning streak ended at 13, but it's time to start another one with a big week-long homestand beginning tomorrow night on Toonie Tuesday with all those great concession specials. The Goldeyes are right in it, taking a run at first place, and it's going to be an incredibly exciting final month of the season. So make sure to get out for some Goldeyes baseball this week, starting on Tuesday, right through Sunday. Goldeyes.com/tickets is where you're going to want to get your seats. Make sure to get them into your phone digitally so you can just walk right into the game and avoid lines. And you can go to goldeyes.com for more information on the remaining schedule as well as promo nights. We'll have Andrew Collier set up the homestand hopefully tomorrow on the program, but make plans to get out to the ballpark this week. Goldeyes are playing some great baseball, and there's nothing like Blue Cross Park in the summer. Speaking of the summer, there's still some time to get out and do some great things, folks. And if you are planning another adventure, make sure to start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. Looking for ideas on the go? Follow along on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. Or if you want a personal touch, pop down to the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. One of those great things to do in Manitoba during the summer is hit up Assiniboia Downs, and they are back with live racing tomorrow and Wednesday this week, 7:30 post time. Of course, that's free parking, free admission, and all the great times at Assiniboia Downs. They do also, a date to remember is August 24th. A couple Mondays from now, they'll be back at it with a special Monday night of live racing. It's the Monday Madness concession deals, and the Wiener Dogs are back. They were such a big hit earlier this year. So make a point of getting down to Assiniboia Downs, and if you do want to really do it up, make a reservation in the clubhouse dining room. Get on that prime rib buffet and enjoy the racing from the clubhouse dining room. But whether you're in the third level, on the grounds, in the dining room, there's nothing like a night at Assiniboia Downs. All right, I've been waiting to get our next guest back on. Man, we had a great time talking fantasy football and helping a few people win some championships last year with Thomas Tipple and fantasypoints.com. And we're now into August, folks. I'm sure you're getting those text messages from your commissioner. The draft is this date. Can you make it? Moving on. We are officially into NFL and fantasy football season, and Thomas Tipple from fantasypoints.com is back. The beard's a little longer. I'd imagine this is just because you've been grinding so hard. There's not even time to shave because the NFL season's just around the corner. What's good, buddy?
I love being back. No time to shave. The hair is aggressively long. I'm almost at mullet territory. I am getting it taken care of tomorrow, actually. So the next time you guys see me, it'll be a little bit more business casual. But I'm happy to be back. It is football season. Your commissions are hounding you for league dues. But don't worry. Through betting and draft tips, we're going to make sure you not only recover your league dues, but you're going to be very much into the bank account this year in the best way.
Now, we're going to have a lot of content over the next couple weeks on fantasy, and we'll have the guys back and maybe another Winnipegger doing some great things in the space, Jacob Sanderson with Fantasy Points. Hopefully we can do a little two-headed monster with the fellas. But, and listen, I want to get to what you guys have done with the site. We'll do that kind of at the end and how people can check out all the work that you guys are doing. But kind of an interesting offseason. And, you know, we've seen some big player moves. We've seen some big quarterback questions answered. But, I mean, big picture, Thomas, right now, heading into everybody's drafts, what would you say the biggest changes for fantasy players are as far as just the scope of the National Football League heading into the biggest day of the year, and that's when you pick your team?
I'll say this. It is going to look, the NFL is going to look a lot more like it did in the 90s. And it's because the running back is officially back. Like we're in a repeat of the era of the running back, and through ADP and multiple drafts and me just trying to get through trades, both dynasty and now we're getting the redraft information as people are drafting, running backs are moving up boards way more than I've seen since I've started doing this as a career. And probably I've been playing fantasy football since it was pen and paper. And I have not seen a spike in running back usage, running back value, and loading up on we call it robust RB, which is starting 2-3 straight running backs in your draft. That's normally a negative EV play, but as of now, basically, if you don't have one of Gibbs or Bijan, you're not winning. Essentially is how this season is starting to get set up. So the biggest change for me is running backs, how much more valuable they are this year, and how diminished the quarterback position has been. Just statistically, quarterback scoring is down year over year. Even though NFL scoring is up, the quarterback and wide receiver scoring is down, and a lot of that has to do with we have better kickers now, and the new kickoff rules the last couple of years have completely shifted points being distributed, fewer plays, fewer longer plays, fewer receptions, pass attempts, all that. So very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny. I mean, those of us that have been played for long enough. I mean, for a long, long time, it was, in just a redraft league, you're locking in. Where do I pick in the first round? Who's the best, most reliable running back I can get on my team? And over the course of the last 10 years, it's become far more of an air game. There were far less bell cow running backs. And, you'd look at first rounds of drafts, and sometimes, you were talking, if you're in a 12-team league, there might only be 3 running backs gone. It seems like those days are gone, and the premium on the every down running back with big playability. You mentioned Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs right at the top of that list, leading the way with the new. Would you say, is there scarcity is obviously a big thing. I mean, you all know what you need to fill up in your roster, but are we at the point where more teams, in your opinion, are moving towards having a guy and feeding them as such? Certainly the top running backs are getting paid as such, and that's not something that had happened as of late.
Well, do you want to know a funny stat about running backs getting paid? So running backs are starting to get some decent sized contracts. With the expansion of the salary cap, the actual cap percentages is still going down compared to what running backs were getting paid back in the day. Like the Detroit Lions, if they were paying Barry Sanders today, it would be like an $80 million, $90 million contract when you compare to how the cap percentages work. So though Bijan and Gibbs got paid, my favorite stat in football right now is that the most guaranteed money at the running back position still belongs to rookie Jeremiah Love. Not Bijan, not Gibbs, and it's by more than $10 million. Jeremiah Love's $54 million guaranteed. Bijan and Gibbs only got 37.5 or 36.5 respectively. That's the situation with running back. But you're right in the bell cow situation. Even though we're moving to like the NFL being a run it league, the bell cow is still rare. You've got Christian McCaffrey, who's getting a little older. You've got Bijan now that Tyler Algier is gone. And now we've got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery being gone with Isaiah Pacheco already banged up. After that, you've got like Devon Achane. Jonathan Taylor is another guy who also got paid this offseason. But outside of that, there's not a lot of true bell cows. A lot of hope for a Marion Hampton, but the coach there has already talked about getting touches to Kamani Vidal and Keaton Mitchell. Now, I don't believe him because Hampton is a lot better than people think last year, but there's risk at that position, but that doesn't change the need for it. Like, you need to hammer out your running back position. So you're not wrong that the league is absolutely shifting that way. So there's a few more than in years past, but there's still an unpredictable layer to this. And you still want to chase upside because, as our guy Scott Baird has written about in the past, award-winning piece is upside wins championships. So that's when you start asking the questions about guys like Trevion Henderson, who last year got boosted up the ranks because he ended up on the New England Patriots, but got his lunch taken by Ramondre Stevenson. And then when Stevenson goes out, Henderson scores 30-point games, and as soon as Henderson comes back in, Mondre comes back in, Mondre takes his lunch again. So it's still an unpredictable landscape, but opportunity still reigns king. So when you're drafting running backs, you still want to look for opportunities, and obviously receptions are worth, I think 0.75 or 2.5 more than a regular carry is. So you still want pass catchers, but it's just harder and harder to find the true workhorse is kind of gone.
No doubt. I mean, we'll spend some more time in the next couple weeks kind of talking about upside and the picks that probably really will win you your draft later on. But let's focus in on round one. You mentioned Gibbs and Bijan 1-2 on pretty much every list. Is Jonathan Taylor 3? And at what point is there, I mean, in your opinion, the drop off, like what is the tier? What is that top tier of the premium number picks in the first round? And where is a break? Obviously, it's something people are thinking about. If you have the choice of where to pick, like if you win a draft where you can choose where you're picking in 12, at what point do you want to make sure you're in that top group before there is a little bit of a fall off based on projections?
Well, for me, it goes, I have Gibbs one spot ahead of Bijan just because the offense of Detroit is so good. And then I have Bijan. Then if it's a PPR format, this matters a lot. Your format matters so much that PPR formats, I want Jamar Chase 3. I want Puka Nacua 4. I'm going to want somebody like Brock Bowers in there in that first round as well. It's very hard to miss in that first round. Players that I don't want in the first round this year are players like CeeDee Lamb. That to me is probably where the tier break is, especially in a redraft format. You know me, Huss, we talked about, I was all in on CeeDee Lamb last year. We would have had it had there not been some injuries. We were on pace, but that offense is going to do numbers as well. But George Pickens kind of outplayed CeeDee Lamb even when they were healthy and at least close enough to push it. So I think that's probably where the tier break is for me. I think Taylor would be the cutoff. Taylor and HN. Now, I know the Miami Dolphins offense is not projected to be that good. We have got a really lackluster team on offense, but offensive coordinator for Miami basically outright said, like, there's going to be games we're going to have to carry HN into the locker room because we've given him the ball so much he may not be able to walk. And they're talking, and we know that he can line up at wide receiver. So the tier break for me, it probably is in and around Taylor, and that probably is around that 8th or 9th pick because you're going to get Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're going to get JSN. Those guys are definitely going to get pushed into that round. Round 2 in redraft is a little scary for me. I would probably reach for somebody like Ken Walker if you want true upside. Now, he's a home run hitting running back. He's somebody that will frustrate you because if you watch I have bad news for you, Huss. If you're watching the Chiefs play and you're wondering why Ken Walker is running sideline to sideline for no reason, that's just how he is. He'll be a type of guy that'll have 5 carries for 18 yards, or you'll be really frustrated. Next thing you know, his next 2 carries go for 85. So he's a home run hitting type upside play. I don't mind him in that second round, but that tier break for me is really CeeDee Lamb, probably in and around that 110 to 111. Outside of that, I want to grab somebody like a Trey McBride, and then you're taking upside shots on a Colson Loveland or a Luther Burden, probably somewhere in that 2-3 turn range. But that first round, it's really hard to miss.
Thomas Tipple with us from fantasypoints.com. One other thing we should touch on today, and this does somewhat deviate from year to year, but where are you at with quarterback strategy for this year? It seems like there's a lot of quarterbacks, and I can say as a guy that lost a couple QBs last year, Mr. Mahomes, there often is, depending on the size of your league and rosters, there are often guys that you can pick up that you can sort of get by if you have an excellent team around them.
Yeah, so in a single quarterback format, which is kind of the most popular, now I play a lot of super flex, but in single quarterback formats, I'm probably just not taking a quarterback in the first 3 rounds, maybe even the first 4 rounds, because you got guys like Jordan Love, you've got guys like Tyler Shuck, you've got guys like Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray just being named the starter that you can get a lot later, significantly pushed down the board in redraft. I'm probably waiting to take those guys. I do want to avoid the guys. I like to refer to them as pylons. So I don't like pylon quarterbacks, especially early. That's guys that don't rush. They don't have a ton of upside unless they have volume. And that's why I'm okay with the Dak Prescott. That's why I'm okay with the Jared Goff, because those offenses are so efficient. They're so strong that you don't really need to rely on any of the rushing. You don't need to rely on that sort of thing. Tyler Shuck is an interesting case because he does have rushing upside. He is with one of the best offensive coordinators in football, and they did just draft Jordan Tyson. So, and also Delp. Like, I'm not sleeping on Delp. And they also signed Achane as well out of from Jacksonville, Travis Achane. So I like Shuck. He's probably my favorite in terms of the later round quarterbacks this year. Shuck, Goff, Dak. I'm definitely avoiding, unless you get a supreme discount on somebody like Jalen Hurts, who there's a lot of down talk on. For some reason, he does nothing but score an insane amount of touchdowns, and yet he is still consistently pushed down boards because of A.J. Brown being gone. But guys, that Eagles offense, I'm sorry to tell anybody who's a fan of another team in the NFC that's not the Rams and not the Seahawks, you're probably in trouble if the Eagles come to town, because Jalen Hurts is absolutely going to still be dicing up teams. And just a little tidbit, it's not a quarterback, it's not a high-end player. You want to know what one of my favorite sleepers is this year in terms of handcuff running backs? It's Tank Bigsby. So I've been lucky enough to talk with Ryan Paganetti, who was in the analytics department for both the Raiders and the Eagles when the Eagles won their Super Bowl championship. And he said that he was imploring the Raiders to go and trade for somebody like Tank Bigsby. He thinks he is all that. And I hadn't been a Bigsby guy, but I'm bought into the sauce. If anything happens to Barkley, Tank Bigsby immediately circles himself as a potential league winner. It's not Shipley. It's going to be Bigsby. And I'm very much willing to double down with that. That's one of my favorite sleeper late round running backs.
I love it. Love it. Mark it down, folks. All right. Well, listen, we'll have Thomas back, throughout the season in the next couple weeks. But listen, there's a lot of people preparing. They remember our segments last year. You guys have had a big off season, shall we say, at Fantasy Points. Give people a quick rundown on what awaits them over at fantasypoints.com as they get ready for the season.
I couldn't be more excited to talk about this. We completely relaunched and redesigned the fantasypoints.com website. And with that came the best league management tool to ever be made. And we can prove it. You get so many things on one screen, Huss, that I wouldn't have enough time to talk about it if you gave me an hour. I know. I tried this on Dynasty Points. We didn't get through one of the sections fully because there are just so many features. So with the Fantasy Points front office, you import your leagues from multiple platforms. We have 8 current platforms that you can play on. Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo, FFPC, NFFC, so many, Flea Flicker, which I wasn't even familiar with, to be honest with you, but we made it work. And you can do all of this and interact with all of your leagues in one place with a few simple clicks. Like, it's never been easier to get your waiver wire information, see who the rest of your team is, the rest of your league is bidding on, who are the top available, who's been dropped the most often, who's gaining and losing values. You got a trade finder, a trade builder. Literally anything you could possibly need has all been put into this one singular tool, and all you need is the $60, this is US, $60 US package gets you access to that. And then, of course, we have other scaling packages as well. We could have paywalled this for more. Every other league management tool in the market costs you more. We decided to be more for the people, make it more accessible, and really try our hardest to help people win more leagues a lot easier. You can look up everything you need to on one spot. You don't need to have 4, 5, 6 tabs open, checking 4 or 5 different brands and platforms. We have you covered with one, and that also includes ADP and mock draft tools, everything you need.
No, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to be diving into this. I'll have some questions next week. And as I say, we've got much more to talk about. But folks, fantasypoints.com. We've even got a special deal for you. Thomas and the guys take care of us. Love to have them on. If you want 15% off, use promo code WST at the checkout and dominate your league with the power of the Fantasy Points data suite. Thomas Tipple, welcome back. I will be in touch. We'll set something up next week. Have a great one, buddy, and thanks for coming on as always.
Appreciate you guys. Sorry I missed the meetup. I won't miss the next one, but this is why I missed the meetup. So I'll be happy to meet everybody there. Thanks for having me. We'll be back next time.
Right on. There's Thomas Tipple, and give him a follow as well at El Nostra Thomas on X, cranking it out. All right, I think we've got P. Greggy ready to go. Big night tonight. Big night tonight for everyone that has played with us through the summer and the WST Summer Series, because tonight, all of you that have been lucky enough to qualify and earn tickets are going to be playing for a trip to the Coolbet Open, and Pat Gregoire from Coolbet joins us now. Patty, there's a lot of buzz about tonight and the big tourney and the big prize awaiting our poker players to finish off a very successful summer series. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. I can only imagine everyone's nerves really sinking in for this big poker match. The table is set. Everyone is ready to go. But Huss, there is an opportunity for anyone who does want to join. It's a little bit steep, but when you think about it, at the price that it is, and if you do win, it could be the best $160 that you ever spend, considering that amazing grand prize. So if you want in, there is details. Maybe we'll go over it, but there's also details on our social, how you can still get in. But kudos to everyone who played their way in fair and square, making those top 2 tables. There's a lot of familiar faces and names out there too, which makes it even better. So I think we're going to have a really good tournament here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone was playing for the qualifying spots, which have a pretty big value. I mean, you have to win the tournament or be in the top 2 to get in. But there is a way, if you've missed it, and you feel confident, you want to go down, as €100 comes out to basically 160 Canadian. And what you want to do is get to poker, just like we've done for the regular tournaments. When you get into poker, click on tournaments. For our normal ones, you click on WST. Just put in WST in the search bar and it pops up. This one is the Canadian Coolbet Open Finals. So when I did it, I just put in CanAd. It'll pop up immediately. Jump in. And if you do want to take a swing, we'll be there. And you'll be going against everyone that finished in the top 2, as well as a couple other extra ones from the first one that got in, as well as myself. Hammer will be there. And I think Remis. Going to be fun. Good luck to everyone. And I said, if you do want to last minute in, get in there. It all starts at 8 p.m. And first week in September, you could be in Estonia representing Canada at the Coolbet Open. Patty, let's get to golf quickly. I know the Greggy's golf special is up. I've got very mixed feelings on our guy, Jackson Koiven. He has cost us in the last 2 weeks with underwhelming final rounds, which to me is shocking when you think about what he did in the final round to win in just his second stop on the tour. Now, he did us a little dirty, didn't have a birdie after the 5th hole. A couple of them would have cashed the Sunday Sweat Club again for us. But he's in a really interesting position going into the FedEx St. Jude, whereas he is the bottom of the list right now, 70th of 70 players. Now, I found this earlier this week, and I was saving this for when you came on with me. But let me just get to my bookmarks. There is a list of players. Here it is. the minimum finish that these players need to be in the top 50 and move on. And it's important to note the top 50 will guarantee you playing in next week's events and still with the chance to get to the Tour Championship. But more importantly, you're in the top 50. You'll be in all the signature events next year. You get all the invites afforded the best players in the world.
Which is even more important next year and the upcoming years with the change of the schedule, with how there's the, elevated events and then there's that secondary tour. So this is huge. I love where your head's at. I had a feeling you were going to be here because I have written down in my notes here a playoff push parlay ? Is that the way that we go this week? So run through down some of these names.
Okay, so here at the bottom of the list, like Koivu, Matty Schmid, Poitgater, they need to be T7 or higher. Pat Rogers, Harmon, Smith, Nick Taylor, they all need to be, a top 10 would get them in. T9, T8 for a couple of them. But these are sort of the interesting names, a little more established players or guys that we've talked about this year. Nick Taylor, solo 10th. Shane Lowry, who has been a mainstay amongst this group for a number of years, he needs T11 or more. Corey Connors, on a course that is known, you need accuracy, you need shots gained approach. He needs a tie for 14th. Our guy Sudarshan Yalamaraju, I don't know whether he's played this course before, which is a little bit of an issue. He needs T16. Jordan Spieth, who has been second to this event before, needs a solo 23rd. And then Max Homa, Sung Jae Im, T24-25, and Harris English solo 31st. I mean, of that group, if we're thinking T10s, T20s, is there a player or two that you do like this week, knowing what is at stake?
Listen, just based off the top 20, top 10 opportunities, two names based off of just the way that TPC Southwinds lays out, the two names that jump out to me is Corey Connors and Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth, you mentioned his course history here, and just the fact that I think he's actually started to play a little bit better down the stretch. And although not a banner year for Canadian Corey Connors, if he can't turn things around at this golf course, then he's better off just packing things up and ending his season and worrying about the fall swing and some of those other international events that he plays, because this is tailor-made for a guy like Connors, where accuracy, ball striking is super important. Putting, could it be a concern? For sure. But, for him to finish in that top 10, I certainly don't hate that. But I would say those two are the ones that jump out to me the most.
You know what? I'm with you on Connors, and I was thinking about Spieth. The other guy, and I'll just say this, and you've heard us talk about him for the last couple weeks because he's been on outrights. He's been the guy that's been pulling his weight on our parlays, is Hideki. Matsuyama has been a top 10, top 5 machine over the course of the last number of months. I believe has won this event before, just a couple years ago. And also, I mean, his approach numbers are off the charts. His results have been great. Like, I will be betting him on an outright, and I'm going to use, he's at 22-1. This is where I'm using my 30% win boost. Straight up on an outright for Hideki. But he's 5-1 to be top 5. He's 2-1 to be top 10. And again, this is a 70-person field. So, what do you think about a Hideki top 10 and then putting Connors and Spieth in for top 20s?
I like that. What did we say Connors needed to be?
Connors
Connors
needs to be T14, I believe. Let me just get back to it. Oh my God.
Okay, so it's a little. I thought it was close. Yeah. Okay, so that then a top 20. We at least know he's going to be fishing in and around there to try to finish there. So I would be good with that. I mean, you mentioned Hideki. I'm on him already. He was one of my first clicks this week. You talked about his win. Not only that, Huss, 5 straight top 20 finishes at TPC Southwind. He's due for a win. Like, he is sniffing all around it. 5 straight top 15 finishes, 3 straight top 10 finishes over that stretch. Decky's already on my Greggy's golf special. I have no problem adding him in there as well. I think this is the week of Decky, to be honest.
So let's do it. Let's do Sunday Sweat Club, Hideki top 10, and then we'll go top 20 for Jordan Spieth and top 20 for Corey Connors. Hopefully Connors can bang that off and get top 10 and make sure that he's there in the top 50. And Jordan needs 23rd, so a top 20 would get him in the mix and move him on as well. And as I said, we could, Hideki's minus 105 for top 20, but just considering how competitive he's been, this course history, I like the top 10 at a plus 200 number. We throw that in with Spieth and Connors. I think we're going to get a pretty nice number if we kind of nut up and put our guy Decky to go into the top 10.
Yeah, I love it. I'm all in on Decky this week. The other guys that I'm on, Hassan, might as well give my other outright cards. Sam Burns, I think it's 20-1 without Mayo's boost. The fact that that's at 25-1. You talk about Decky being on fire. I think you could also put Sam Burns in that. And I mean, he's been even better than Decky. He just hasn't played as much. 5 straight top 20 finishes, including 3 top 5s. 2 of those were majors, the US Open and the Open Championship. He hasn't won yet this year, but obviously with his track record this year, when the big dogs are playing, he's sniffing around it. It just comes Sunday, he falls apart. I think that TPC Southwind is a place that he feels comfortable. He has 2 top 5 finishes here in 6 trips. So Sam Burns, it scares me that absolutely everyone in the community seems to be on him. And then Pat Mayo hangs a 25-1 with his weekly boost. And I think even more people have flocked to it. So I'm going to take Sam Burns at that number. And I know you'll approve of this one. Mr. Playoff himself, Victor Hovland, 33-1. I know I talked about 2 guys that have been hot as hell. He certainly doesn't fit that bill, but he has course history here, and he's a guy that when it comes to the playoffs, he plays big. So 3 top 20 finishes in his last 4 trips here. T2 back in 2024. We know how good he was in 23 at these playoffs when he won the Tour Championship. 2024, he finished T12 in the Tour Championship and then a solo 12. And those 2 years were the years where you had to accumulate points to get to that point into the Tour Championship, not like last year where it just all starts at 0. So he is a guy that when the calendar turns to the playoffs, that's kind of when he plays his best golf. And the fact that we're getting him at 33-1, Huss, I really, looking at the other guys around that, it really didn't make much sense to me. And yes, I know he hasn't played his best golf this year, but look at what he did in 2024. He had a terrible year, and he still finished really well at the end of that playoff.
One other guy that I know you'll hear, I think this is an interesting one to maybe not just focus on Scotty or Rory, although if they won the tournament, no one's going to be shocked. I mean, Scotty's just only 450. I mean, it's an unbettable number, and even Rory at 12-1 in this field is tough. But if you want to take a flyer on a long shot, I can't help but notice your guy, Open champion or champion golfer of the year, Ryan Fox, who hasn't played since he won, he's at 100-1 in this event.
I saw that too.
I mean, like the models and stuff, I'm not sure whether it's Foxy, but this is a guy that has been incredibly competitive, just had his biggest win of the year. So if you want to throw a dart for a couple bucks at a 3-digit number, I will throw out Mr. Fox to you, who is at 100-1. What'd you cook up for the Greggy's golf special?
It's those 3 guys that I just mentioned: Hovland,
Matsuyama,
Decky, and Sam Burns. all to finish inside the top 20, plus 577. The fellas boosted that up to plus 665. So a really, really good number there. I might throw it a second one, man. You got my mind buzzing here. We got our Sunday Sweat Club. I might do an additional one because now the more I think about it, Shane Lowry, the fact that he could be not making the next round, Foxy at 101. So obviously his top 20 number is pretty good. So I might have to get in the lab after here. So take a look at the combo cards later tonight, folks. You might see a secondary Greggy's Golf Special sitting beside our Sunday Sweat Club.
There is a couple nice boosts that are up in the combo cards as well. There's one course history, two guys that have been great before, Tommy Fleetwood and Hideki, both top 20. That's from 212 to plus 225.
Sunday Sweat Club is up.
Whoa!
And it is juicy.
We're getting over 30 to 1 on this. It's plus 26. I knew that top 10 from Hideki would really juice this one up. If you want to ride with us for the Sunday Sweat Club, the Hideki top 10, Spieth and Connors top 20, boosted from 26.89 to plus 30.90. I'm locking that in right now, Mr. Gregoire, and let's get it. We've been so close. We deserve it this week after what's happened with Koivu in the final round on the back nine the last 2 weeks. While we are in the combo cards, a lot of people fired up around here, Patty. We got game one of the CEBL championship, and a lot of people had written the Sea Bears off after Teddy was in his fight, and you lost Tillman and Acott, and the Sea Bears went in as big underdogs and won and are now in the finals. They are, actually, I should pull this up right now. They are underdogs tonight, but to win the CEBL, they're actually the favorites. Minus 175 for Winnipeg. Brampton is at plus 125. You just click on that in the futures. There's, one team is going to win the championship. Sea Bears with the 2 games at home and their home record are the favorite, and the crowd that we know that's going to be up. By the way, if you missed earlier, go to winnipegsportstalk.com/contest for your chance to win some Sea Bears tickets. We'll announce those on tomorrow's show. But for tonight's game with Brampton at home, the Honey Badgers are a slight favorite in this game. Minus 1.5 is the point spread. And the Sea Bears are even money to win this game on the road. I'm not betting against these guys and what they've proven so far. So if you just want to bet the Sea Bears tonight to win, it's even money, plus 100. But we've actually put that with a couple of other ones. Now, there is the Win City special, which is the Sea Bears to win tonight and the Blue Bombers to win on Friday night. That's got a boost from plus 158 to plus 192. And I got to tell you, as we transition over to the Jays, Patty, I and many Jays fans getting pretty excited right now with the way this team is finding ways to win. I had no idea who the hell Brent Bateman was, but he's getting the job done. Basically everyone with the exception of Vladdy is pulling their weight right now. He seems to end an inning every single time he goes up, and yet they're finding ways to win. But how about this one for tonight? We're riding with the Sea Bears and Soriano on the hill for the Jays. See if they can keep rolling. Blue Jays and Sea Bears together with a nice boost from plus 320 to plus 372. I will be locking in that one and watching the Jays at 5 and then throwing the Sea Bears on at 6 before we get going with the poker this evening.
Yeah, listen, I'm getting sucked back into this Jays team. You mentioned Bateman. They find ways to win. And I thought you and Jake had a great discussion about just how crazy things happen at the Dome. And, this red hot Red Sox team is rolling in to town. And we keep hearing the red hot Red Sox, they've lost 4 in a row. The red hot team right now is the Blue Jays, winning 6 of their last 10 and a 2-game winning streak. This is a team that I think that can catch fire. Soriano's back on the bump tonight. Obviously, they're battling uphill here. They're certainly battling uphill here, but I think the path is there. They have to go on a streak. So, like, they got to continue to string some wins here together. But what, they're 2.5 back of the wild card. For me, Huss, like, I have so much faith in this team. You talk about Bateman, like, it's just, they're starting to be likable. And you said it, like, what happens if Vladdy starts to heat up here? And I maybe it's just not going to happen. It's so funny that you mentioned that he ends at least an inning each game. I don't know if it's because he can't, like, hit the ball out of the park anymore and he's lost his slugging, that he thinks he's like Ricky Henderson on the base paths now, because he still runs like a slugger. So I don't know why he keeps trying to turn these, singles into doubles and doubles into triples. Like, I don't know what it is, but he's just got to, like, he just cannot continue to hurt this team.
Last night was so frustrating. I mean, he was the final out the first few at bats, and then he finally gets a hit with a guy on base. They're staring at second and third, and he gets caught at second base on. Now listen, I mean, it was sort of a fortuitous bounce and a hell of a throw, but it wasn't even close. And at a certain point, with 2 outs, you know what? Let the guy get to third, advance the runner, get a hit, and live to see another at-bat and another pitch with a guy in a scoring position. But, I mean, Charles McAdoo has more home runs at the Rogers Center this year than Vlad Guerrero. He's played 5 games, and Vlad's played 55.
5 games. I know. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It looks like Okamoto's going to be back into the lineup. It's kind of been weird that, like, they post the lineup and then, I don't know, an hour later, okay, they're taking him out. So he's still in the last time I checked. Hopefully he's okay. But despite guys getting hurt and getting pulled out of lineups, like, different guys now come back in and, they're finding ways to win. And it is getting late early right now, but I don't know. This team is just starting to show flashes of what we saw last year when it comes to finding ways to win. And it looks like they're having fun at the ballpark again. And it looks like maybe because there's no pressure anymore. The room is lighter. I don't know what it is, Huss, but I thought I swore them off. And I think after the trade deadline, I came on the program here and you asked me, and I said, you know what? I love what they did. There's no expectations. As long as they play entertaining baseball, we'll be good and I'll be fine with that. And now Jake and I are texting each other and, Godfather gifts. They pull me back in, like, we're back in on this team, man. We're back on this team.
He said Jays have won 9 of 13, 2.5 back. They've pulled me back in. It's insane. And Jake also asks that the McAdoo has some juice. I actually think he played in that game I was at against the Yankees. It was that Gosman Schlittler game after the soccer earlier this year. And I wasn't really too familiar. But there's a bunch of new guys. They're getting the job done. And they are finding ways to win. And hopefully they can do that again tonight. If you want to bet the Sea Bears Jays combo, it's at plus 392. And just the Jays on their own. By the way, this is an early start tonight. The game gets going at 5. Oh, no, it's 6 o'clock, 6:07 our time. Plus 110, plus money underdog with Soriano on the hill for the against Ranger Suarez for the Red Sox. Full slate of games tonight. Before we go, I have made my picks for Week 11 in the CFL WST Coolbet Pick'em. Kind of funny, we're giving away this incredible trip tonight to the winner of the poker tourney. We're playing all season long for a trip to the Grey Cup. And if you haven't already gotten in, you're probably going to have a real uphill battle. Maybe you can just be a savant and nail all the games and catch everyone. But we are giving away $50 every single week in your account for whoever has the top score as we chase, I believe it's Izzy for first place in the tourney. There's still a lot of people in scoring in catching distance, but you got to make sure you're getting your picks in. So there's your reminder. You've got until kickoff tomorrow to make those selections. And Pat, in the very near future, as we talk NFL, we'll be launching and giving the full rollout of the NFL Pick'em contest which will, of course, coincide with weekly WST winners with the boys and our picks going head-to-head all year long heading into the weekend in the NFL. We just had Thomas on talking fantasy. Now we're talking.
Oh, that fired me up.
This is actually a very exciting time. When I was a kid, I used to get like the Sunday scaries. I had the late August scaries, knowing that you're about to get into September. And listen, I'm not in a hurry to get out of August. Love the weather and all that. But for fantasy guys, football guys, this is the time where we just can't wait to get after it.
Oh, I absolutely. I'm getting concerned. I might be staying up until 4, 5, 6 a.m. in Estonia doing a fantasy draft. I was just thinking, like, with the timing that it is, like, we're going to be on quite the run here, Huss, and whoever wins the tournament, in a couple weeks, go into Estonia, and then boom, next thing you know, it's Labor Day, which is a big weekend in your guys' territory. And then next thing you know, because the NFL is just deciding to own the entire week. Let's not forget, Wednesday of that following week is when the games all kick off. Like, NFL is going to be here before you know it. We're going to have to hammer out offline what we want to do for WST future show, because I've been scrolling through Coolbet, and more is getting added every day. More and more is catching my eyes. I know Jake is already talking about some of his best bets and his future bets. So we're going to have to get something going for the people. I know people are already fired up for football, north and south of the border. I know the Pick'em contest is going to be great. That's going to be coming very soon, Huss. Very, very soon. But there's a lot of futures bets we got to hit too.
Well, for sure. And just so you know, if you want to get ahead of it, receiving props, passing props, rushing props this year, team playoffs, regular season wins, awards. It is all up there right now. And of course, we'll be all over it here on WST. Patty, let's get this Sunday Sweat Club. Hideki leading the way for us. And we would love to see a Seabears and Jays win tonight to make the people happy. That's in the exclusives. Have a great one tonight. We'll be locking down, seeing who's representing Canada at the Coolbet Open. And we'll talk about it real soon here on WST. Have a great one, pal.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck tonight to the Seabears, but more importantly, good luck to everyone on the felt.
You know it. Still a couple things to take care of, including our picks for Assiniboia Downs. We'll finish her up with those coming up right here now, next on WST. I saw our pal Doug Brown making the most of the bye week on the weekend. Doug was out at Aikens Lake pulling out some massive fish out of the water. There's still great catches to be had and great times this fishing season, but Aikens Lake is planning well into 2027 right now. If you're thinking about a corporate trip, a family trip, maybe something that you've been waiting to do for many years, booking is going well into 2027 right now. So if you're looking for a fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in just a couple hours from Winnipeg with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality, that is what the Aikens experience is all about. Check them out online at aikenslake.com or all their social channels at Aikens Lake for more information on remaining availability for 2026 and booking into 2027. Lots going on in the golf course these days. We had Mitchell Brennan run away with the PGA Tour event on the Wyndham, and now it's on to the playoffs. But I can tell you the Breezy Bend Golf Report for this weekend is that Breezy Bend is absolutely mint and immaculate. Got a chance to play there on the weekend, just had a great time with some friends, and holy smokes, is the course in great shape. I think many of our courses are, but we're seeing now, some of the new greens that they built over the last couple of years, the course improvements really starting to take hold and take shape. If you are thinking about a great long-term home for you and your family at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, check out breezybend.ca or give our pal Corey Johnson a call at 895-7205 for more information on Breezy Bend for 2027. All right, we'll continue the show, but first up, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here. brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, Remo, let's finish up the show with a trip out to Assiniboia Downs, live racing tonight, 7:30 p.m. Free parking, free admission. And let me just say that I'm due because even my favorites last night just couldn't get the job done. Couple seconds, couple guys in, wasn't really that close was not really that close in my picks last night. So we're definitely going to need to make something happen today.
Yes. I also was like, I'm picking some big favorites here, just trying to get some wins, keep the bankroll moving, and I lost it all yesterday. So we're back at it. We do $20 each race night, and I did take one bigger favorite just so I can have a chance to feel good, but there's no guarantees, Huss. As big as a favorite someone may be, anything can happen.
You know it. All right, I'm starting it out in race 1, and I couldn't not bet a horse called Tap the Parlay. So I got a $4 win bet on number 3 in race number 1.
I'm not on race 1. I'm on 3, 4, 5, 7.
Okay. Well, I'm actually going back to it in race number 2. Another name that I love and a horse that's actually had some nice recent results is Mini Glazed Donut. $4 on Mini Glazed Donut. And then I've got a couple of triactors in race 6 and 7.
For a horse that's paying 8-1, Mini Glazed Donut has had some success. Has won 2 races last year, 2 seconds this year. I like that one, Huss. Not part of the program selection or AI Smart Picks, but had some success.
Yeah.
And a great name. Also, the most expensive horse on the claiming prize, too. Mini Glazed Donut. I love it.
Interesting. What do you got in race 3?
We're going to be at the Forks tomorrow. Travel Manitoba. Might have to get some of those mini donuts while we're out there.
Good call.
I'm on race 3. I've got a trifecta box. 1, 2, 3. Nay, nay, which I've bet before. Pineapple Tidbits. I think that's the healthier mini glazed donut. And Princess Alaska. So I'm going with the favorites on this box here.
Nice. And then you got 4?
I'm on 4. I've got an exacta box. 2, 5. Prince of the Prairie and Al Reichert. Is that just the guy's name?
That's a great name for a horse.
Just gave it like all these horses have all these crazy names. It's just like a regular first name and last name, Al Reichert.
That's a first.
I've never seen that.
Al Reichert.
And then, race 5. I'm just going with the winner. This is a big favorite. Omaha Warrior. I don't know what this is going to pay, but I need to feel good. So this is the
something in the credit amount number when you look at the transactions. Race number 6, I am going with the $1 triactor box. 3, I love Designated Hitter, along with 2 of the favorites, Lansdowne, number 5, and the favorite Judo, number 7. 3, 5, 7, and number 6.
I like that one. It's the AI Smart Pick. And I'm on race 7. I'm going in exacta box. Lab Rat, that's a favorite of ours.
Yep.
Lab Rat. And number 3, Aereo. So that's the program selection. So bit of a chalky exacta box. But I'm hitting it. Let's do it.
I am fading, actually, Ario, and I'm going with the tractor box. I'm taking Labrat, the favorite. I'm taking Golden Buck, numbers 5 and 6, and I'm going to add number 2, the Ronald.
Nice.
Although, now that I look at it, and Jake is in the chat, I remember that Jakey Byrne won as a pretty big underdog while we were at the track earlier this year. But the pick is in. I'm going a 2-5-6 for the Tractor Box. Hopefully we can get some wins. And again, next week it's Tuesday, Wednesday again. It'll be Tuesday, Wednesday throughout the summer into the fall around Thanksgiving. But Monday, August 24th is the next Monday night of racing. They've got those crazy concession specials with the $2 hot dogs, $2 ice cream, lemonade, and more. And the Wiener Dogs will be making their return to the track on Monday the 24th. So remember that one. We'll try and get out that night as well. That we've gone long today. We got to get this podcast up for everybody. So we'll bid you all adieu. Huge thanks to Thomas Tipple, Pat, Brandon, Marhsall Ferguson, and of course Rod Black. Sea Bears game 1 of the championship series tonight, 6 o'clock, TSN and CBC. Jay's starting at 6 as well. And of course, the big poker tourney at 8 o'clock tonight. Good luck to everyone that's qualified and anyone entering tonight. Again, go to Coolbet, into the poker, hit tournaments, and search Canada or Canadian, and you will find it. We will see you there at 8 o'clock tonight. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors and all of you for making us a part of your day. Have a great one, and we'll see you tomorrow live from the Forks at the Visitor Information Center at Travel Manitoba. If you're down around the Forks tomorrow, make sure to pop in and say hi. We'll catch you tomorrow on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.